Heidi ho, YouTube, and everyone in chat. This is your old pal Nutty coming to you. It's Happy Friday. I heard Uncle Mitch has just spent the last 3 weeks in Vail, Colorado, and I want to hear all about it. So without further ado, let's roll the intro. Bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome into our latest live broadcast. I'm CareyHolzman.
I'm Mitch Morrison.
Mitch is back with another Toto shirt.
Yes, number 58. All right.
Mitch always helps us when we have builds to do.
Love builds.
And we've got a best bang for the buck build, in my opinion. I think these are the best bits you can buy today, the 18th of August, 2023. It's Friday. Happy Friday.
Yeah, very humid here in Phoenix, but
and a little overcast.
Yeah.
It's the first time we've had a day under 110 degrees in some time.
Yeah.
Hurricane Hillary might be making California, Arizona, and Nevada quite wet here during the next 3 days. We'll see what happens.
I'll tell you, Chad, I just spent the last 3 weeks in Vail, Colorado, where, at night it might have been 50 degrees out. So I was sleeping with a window open, hoping that a grizzly bear didn't jump in and try to spoon with me. But
does that happen a lot?
Oh, their body heat is tremendous. All right. So.
I don't think he's going to Colorado for the vacation.
Yeah.
I think he's going to the Bears.
Right.
Let me give a shout out to some generous folks who've contributed in Super Chat even before the show started. So a thank you out to our good friend Peter Laycock, Buster, joining us from Bonnie, Scotland. Says, good evening, Carey, Marlena, and we're going to say Mitch too.
Okay.
And everyone in the chat, all the best from Bonnie, Scotland. The temperature in Edinburgh, Scotland is 60 degrees there. Oh, man. Yeah, what if?
Yeah.
That's 15 degrees Celsius for everybody outside the United States.
But if they're expecting rain, it obviously...
They only expect rain in Scotland on days that end in the letter Y.
And why is that? Okay.
Ian Gooch with a 10-pound contribution says, hello, Carey and Mitch from London. I checked out the move speed on Amazon. And, oh, he's talking about the flash drive. Because I wasn't sure if he's talking about the NVMe or the flash, because move speed makes both. And the 256 gig USB flash drive was over 52 pounds, which is about $66 US. So you have a much better deal. I'll wait for the price to drop. Yeah, well, that's your government that tell you there.
What's that in London? Let's talk about the VAT, the VAT.
The value added tax.
Oh, you're pretty smart, all right?
Pretty smart fella.
Yeah, sometimes. All right.
Or did I get the letters? Roy Starman with a $10 contribution from Super Chat. He says a contribution to the Feed the Gang Fund, is what he say?
For dinner tonight, Mitch, you want wingy?
Oh man, I had wings yesterday.
Oh, okay.
But
all right,
it's not like I couldn't have wings 2 days in a row. This guy walked in. I'm there eating my wings, and this guy walks in. And he goes, "Hey, I'm here to get the best health food in town." Funny, I guess.
Yeah.
And then he goes over to the soda machine, and the guy thought he was using Pepsi. Pepsi was out. He goes, "Oh no, we're doing the diet. We're health people." He goes, "I didn't even realize I had diet in my store. That's coming out." Because we want everything on it. He's just played with it.
No sucrose. Right.
Mark Gaines contributes 10 pounds.
Hey, Mark
joins us from Northern Ireland. So we got Ireland, Scotland, and London in the house. He says, hello, Carey and Mitch. Welcome in, Mark. I want to give a shout out to some extremely generous benefactors to this channel. As you all well know, Peter Laycock owns me at this point. And I couldn't be prouder. Peter's been such a generous benefactor to the channel. A lot of our content wouldn't. And Peter sent an Amazon gift card very generously. And not to be outdone, our good friend Frankie B. Oh, he also sent a very generous Amazon gift card. What's great about the Amazon gift cards, unlike Super Chat, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate any contribution if I can get it. It's the thought that counts. But, you know, the word but, by the way, it negates everything you just said. Remember that every time you say the word but, with one T.
But who knows? All right. Yeah.
I would change the order.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So when you give a super chat, YouTube takes 30%. Even on your memberships, those of you who are members, YouTube takes 30%. And I won't see the money for 30 to 60 days. And I don't have any way to refund it if you were upset, you wanted to refund, or you made a mistake. That's between you and YouTube. If you contribute literally any other way via PayPal, PayPal only takes 3%, which is a far cry from 30. The money is available to me immediately. If you made a mistake or you changed your mind, no issue for hit the refund button. Amazon gift cards, Amazon takes 0%. Get the money. Sometimes the Amazon gift cards can take 10 minutes to arrive, but they take 0%. And I'm going to probably spend the money to buy the stuff that we're going to film, such as today. Everything was sourced from Amazon except the LiveMixer board. And I'm sort of leery to mention prices because at one point, this CPU, the Intel Core i5-13500, was $207 or it was $209. It was at $247. It was on sale. Amazon had it on sale first. Then Newegg matched the sale. Then Amazon took it off sale. Well, Newegg kept it on sale. So then Amazon matched Newegg, who was matching Amazon. So it stayed at like whatever it was. It was under $210. And then Newegg ended their sale, Amazon ended their sale, and it's right back to the $247 that it was. This LiveMixer Z790 board from ASRock is a very cool motherboard, easily a $260 motherboard. But the time I bought it, it was $219 the time I bought the first one. And the next day I went looking at Newegg because I was thinking about ordering another one, and they had put it on sale literally the next day. Like I haven't even received it yet. I put the order in the night before at $160. So at $160, I ordered more and rebuilt the 2 LiveMixer with the screen. So I went back to Newegg to buy another LiveMixer board when I decided. What happened was while these were on sale, I bought an extra one. There's such a good deal. The i5-13500 is a lower TDP wattage consumption. The stock cooler it comes with is quiet. CPU will not overheat with Prime 95. So we don't have to spend money on a third-party cooler. It installs very easily. It's less money we have to spend, and I want to get it while it's on sale, and I'll figure out what I'm going to do with it later. So I've had it for maybe, well, however long it's been since I built those two. And I thought, all right, I'm itching to build something, so let me see what I can get for a motherboard. We know 14th gen will be probably months, so I want to use it. So I thought I want to get a motherboard. Well, I can still get a motherboard. I want to get another LiveMixer board. I'm very happy with the price. And the price went up. This is now $260. What are you going to do? So the money I saved on the CPU goes towards money I didn't save on the motherboard. And I happened to see this crucial T700 NVMe drive. Read that what that says right there.
Ooh, Gen 5.
Which
Very
means
nice.
it will do how fast?
For an eyeball. 12,400 megawatts.
Megabytes
per second.
All right.
Oh, with a 5-year warranty. That's pretty snug.
Okay, so Samsung 970 EVO, 2 terabyte one that we always talk about how great it is.
Yep.
3,500 megabytes. Now you can pick up a Samsung 970 EVO. They're still on sale for like $80 over at Amazon.
For 2 terabyte? Not 1?
Terabytes.
Oh,
Samsung 970 EVO 5-year warranty. But again, about 3,500 megabytes per second. Gen 4, you get about 7,400 megabytes per second on the top high-end drive. Gen 5, you should be able to get to 15,000, pretty 1,000. We're not there yet. Just like we weren't there when Gen 3 drives initially came out. And we weren't there when Gen 4 drives, when they first came out, you were getting around 5,000. but within a year, typically. Got faster memory, cheaper drives are hitting and saturating the bus. So we haven't saturated the bus yet, Gen 5, but not all 13th gen Intel motherboards support Gen 5 on. They'll say they have their PCIe Gen 5, meaning something you plug into the PCIe slot like a graphics card. But you've got to read the details to determine if any of the M.2 slots are Gen 5. If you have one, it's usually just the one. The rest will be Gen 4. And sometimes there'll even be a couple Gen. Might have 5 M.2 slots on some of these motherboards. A couple Gen 4s, a couple Gen 3s, maybe one 5. The Gen 5 drives do run really, really hot. They do require a heatsink. However, it doesn't make any sense to put one of these fast drives in an external enclosure because the USB speed is bottleneck. So you're wasting your money. Better off, even a Samsung 970E, probably wait. You can get an Intel budget Intel drive. Their 1 terabyte drives are like $35 now. So 2 terabytes, maybe 60. And you're not going to notice any degradation. You won't have any heat issues in the enclosure. You're likely going to use this on a motherboard. That motherboard likely comes with a heatsink that is aesthetically matching the board. And that heatsink will almost 100% of the time be a far more effective heatsink than anything the manufacturer. It'll be better than what they include. So unless you have a motherboard that has a Gen 5 M.2 that does not come with a heatsink, as far as I know, no such board exists, then you shouldn't need to buy a heatsink for this. Motherboard's heatsink, and specifically the heatsink over the Gen 5 slot, was designed to handle the heat coming off a Gen 5 drive. So you don't waste your money unless you want to. For RAM, we're using DDR5. This is the Team Force TEAMGROUP branded memory. We've got 2 sticks.
Vulcan. Vulcan. Vulcan memory.
That's right. So you are correct. And that is 2 sticks of 16 for a total of 32. The motherboard has 4 slots. We could put 4 sticks. No RGB. Thank you very much. Pass. And 6,000 megahertz. So we got some pretty fast DDR.
Nice.
For the power supply, we're going to use an older power supply that's still in inventory. The NZXT C750 Gold is about $130 for this power supply. It's fully modular. It'll give us the 2 EPS connectors, CPU power. And for the case, I'm going to use the NZXT H5 Flow. It's again, not the RGB version. The H5 is a little shorter than H7, but it is a size ATX case. It's just as short as you could make. So it almost looks like a mid-tower.
But it's a full.
I think technically it's a mid-tower that can accept a full-size ATX. It's hard to, it depends on what we're calling a mid-tower and a full. A lot of times it's defined by the height. Sometimes it's defined by the motherboard compatibility. Pretty much any case that'll hold a big motherboard, hold a smaller board. It doesn't work the other way around. So this case will hold a full-size ATX, that it should also hold a micro ATX, any problem. You can usually tell if a case is ATX compatible or micro ATX by counting the number of slots in the back. If it's got like 7 slots, that's a full ATX motherboard. It's only got 4, then you're a micro ATX. So there's no rule that says you can't make a case 3 feet tall that only holds a micro ATX board. I missed a contribution. I completely forgot about it. My bad. Oh, and as I'm checking, Nick Caffrey sends $15.63. That's very specific. He says, thanks for all your hard work, Carey. Unique channel. Right on. Thank you, Nick.
Niki.
And, PayPal. Pizza Hut has contributed a 30% off coupon. I don't think that's a contribution. I think it's just spam. Our friend Paul O'Brien, watching us in Ireland, said, just an update on the case. He recently built a machine and he thought he was ordering an NZXT H7.
Okay.
He thought he was getting an H7 flow, but he ended up clicking on the Game Midas case by mistake. It wasn't until the case arrived at my house that I realized my mistake, but I kept it because I liked the way the case lit up at the bottom. It's true, your channel, that I became friends with Andy Kane in real life.
Oh.
We met in person, all because you inspired me to build not one, not two, but 7 computers so far. I would like to send you a short video of the PC and your mouse pad. If we'd love that. Share it with everybody. Here, send it to my email address. If you're not quite sure how to reach out to me, you can click on the About on YouTube, and there's a showcase create. Whatever that email is, that goes to Camera Girl, chief, all the for product review. That's out. And if you send it there, or if you know my email address, send it to me. But either way, she'll get it to me. We'll both love to watch it. And he sends a $10 Amazon gift card. So, Slancha, my friend Paul O'Brien, thank you so much. Catches me up.
Had your back, Mitch. Well, glad to be back. So I leave in about 2.5 weeks.
How long are you going to be gone?
Well, I applied and I got accepted. I got a 90-day visa, but that's just cover, I think, in a month. Out, join it. I always chat. I always get tickets.
Open-ended.
Yeah, open-ended, because I go to these countries. If I don't like it, after a couple of weeks, I bop over. If I don't like Vietnam, I would just bop over to Thailand. I've spent a month in Thailand. I love that. Yeah.
Folks are saying we're having some sound issues. Let's see if we can address that before we get started. That's why we do these.
Yeah, intros.
Yeah.
Who's low? Who's high?
Well, I think so right now the AC is on. You know, the noise suppression is on because the AC is so loud. So I'm going to turn noise suppression off, which is going to make the sound. You're going to hear the background. See if people. So some people are saying it's only on my microphone, but they're both the same microphone with the same settings.
Check 1, 2.
But let's try something here. Let's go to our filters in OBS and let's turn off. Noise suppression is now off. So that should prevent any dropouts. With regards to volume, I can see that when we're talking at a regular volume level, we're a little low. But if I speak up, we're hitting the red. So it's kind of debatable on. Now, if we want to boost that a little bit, I think it would be safe for me that, once again, that's in the compressor of OBS. Increase our gain. Go back to.
He always speaks much more voluminous.
I project.
Okay. Salala. Much better now.
All right, we'll check that. That's at.
All right.
That's a 14 dB gain.
Woo.
And right now the AC is off. But it's like intermittent stops, he says. Well, there is a couple other sound filters. One is a noise gate. Turn the noise gate. It's probably the noise gate. Let's turn the noise gate off.
Does the gate?
Now we'll just keep the compressor and the limiter.
Does the gate squeak? All right. Oh, not the wrong kind
Some
of gate.
WD-40?
Yeah.
All right, let's see if that sounds any better for you guys. Now, I will let you know that the air conditioner will be coming on throughout the show, and with the noise suppression and the noise gate off, you are going to hear that.
But we need it.
Yes.
Can't be more than 98 degrees. What is it out there? Yeah.
It says
for a good time call. No, all right, that 97, 90.
I want it to update. Yeah, 97.
With, does it say the humidity? It's got to be at least 17%, which, you know, doesn't sound like much, but for us, where it's,
32%?
where it's usually,
No, that's chance of rain, 32%. 15% humidity, I think. Isn't that the humidity down
Yeah.
there? The bottom?
yep,
Or is that chance of rain? Humidity is going to go to 32% at 6 o'clock. All right, well, we only have to deal with it for a couple days out of the year. When you go to
yeah.
Vietnam, you're going to be
it'll
swimming.
Yeah, it'll be 90 out and 90% humidity, so, yes. But there's always a hotel pool or the ocean to swim around with my swim fins and my snorkel that I don't pack with me.
Oystein says it's much better. The audio is much better for him. Thank you,
Ah.
Oystein. Nick Caffrey said perfect 65 degrees here in West Cork. Where's that, in England? Cork sounds like a place in England or Ireland. He goes, maybe we'll, Dome in 2000 says maybe we can hear the fan spin up. It's a pretty quiet fan.
Yeah.
Ryan says the audio is better for him. Thomas Backetstow said audio is fine for him. Sherry McFarland said it's a cool 70 degrees here in Northeast Ohio. Yeah, it's probably be a nice time to be in Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota. Ohio.
I was just thinking about,
Illinois.
or I was talking to somebody about Ohio and Sandusky, Ohio, where of course the amusement park Cedar Point is, which is one of the rare amusement parks that has about 17 roller coasters in it.
Was it Colossus? Was that the big one? It was a Guinness Book World Records. I think they had 3 roller coasters in the Guinness Book World Records, if I'm not mistaken, at Cedar Point. That's been around since I was a kid.
Yeah. The Blue Streak, of course, is the original wooden one, so shake the fillings right out of your teeth.
Andy King says Southern Ireland is where West Cork is. There you go. Mark Baggett said 75 here in Massachusetts. Massachusetts. Can you imagine being a kid in like kindergarten and you got to write out your state? I can't spell that as an adult.
Phonics. All right, yeah.
Phonics?
Phonics, Arizona.
Pronounce it phonetically?
Yeah, Phoenix, Arizona.
Pahonix. Pahonix. Dave Hall said, if I need more audio volume, I'll use my volume controls locally. Fair enough. Scott says, hello, Carey, Marlena, and Mitch from Wisconsin. Bajing Guy says, Cedar Point is great.
Makes me feel like a kid again when I go there.
Lord Folk says, 87 degrees Fahrenheit here in Spokane. Is it Spokane or Spokane?
Spokane.
Spokane.
Scan.
Neither one, Carey. You got it wrong twice. Gerald Wallace said his hometown is Sandusky. Oystein said 75 degrees Fahrenheit here in Norway at 10 p.m. I would love to go to Norway. That's gonna be checked off my bucket list here in the next couple of years. Mark my words. 76 degrees in Madison, Wisconsin. Six Flags north of Chicago.
I got a little sister in Chicago.
Captain Linsky says in the low 50s tonight in southwestern Pennsylvania, 87 here in St. Lucia.
I saw all my brothers and sisters there in Colorado because they all turned up for my middle brother's 60th birthday.
Jeez, it seems like your brother has those every year.
Yeah, and between you and me, I got to tell you, family gatherings are a lot like colonoscopies.
Are they?
They're both a big pain, you know what I mean? Luckily, it's just, well, that's every 7 years, so.
I offered my elderly neighbor $20 to take me up on her stair lift. Yeah, I think she's going to take me up on it. You want to kick us off with a dad joke today?
Okay, why did the squirrel cross the road?
Why did the squirrel cross the road?
Because he heard the ballet was going to do the Nutcracker Suite. No, that's terrible. Sorry, Nutty.
All right. Sorry, it had to be done. Zdravko, who's renewed his membership now for 15 months, Says hello, everybody. Thank you, Zdravko. He's been a member right since we turned memberships on. Not too many 15-month members. I think we've got maybe 2 dozen at the most, which is very, like, you want to talk about flattering, or, you know, somebody could say nice things, but then when they show it, you know, 15 months ongoing support, that means a lot. Thank you so much. There's Peter Laycock. He says humidity in Edinburgh is 88%. Am I saying Edinburgh correctly?
Sounds good to me.
Edinburgh.
80? Did you say 88%?
Yeah, that's basically, you go outside wearing flip-flops.
Yeah.
What are you when you drive a Subaru in reverse? Eurobus. I see. If you pronounce Subaru the backwards. Eura, B-U-S. Eurobus.
Still loving my 2016 Subaru Forester with 100. Well, how much? I bought it new, and right now I got 107,000 miles on it in that short of a period. But what can I say? I like the road trip much more than flying, which, you know.
He's a man who takes care of his belongings.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising that his car still looks like new. Of course, not having
dogs or kids or pets or
I think that's key.
Or
And
plants.
also not ignoring maintenance. You always get your maintenance done.
Yeah.
So that pays for itself. Let's see. Tim Teal says 94 degrees in Idaho. Jeff Ryman said, had a nice rain in Las Vegas this morning. You know, we had rain last night, I think, at Sky Harbor Airport. And you know, that's the first rain the airport has seen in 147 days. Or 148 days.
When I was pulling up to Studio B, I got a little on the windshield. Not a ton, but it was
mist.
It was starting to come down, and I'm like,
It was spit.
yeah.
Bruce Lucas said, I've had 4 Subarus, but because they went through a lot, 50,000 miles a year.
That's a lot of driving, yeah.
Yeah, that's twice the normal.
Yeah.
Rainy and 72 degrees Fahrenheit here in northern Vermont, says Lou Greenia. Mitch, Yukomo says, I had a 2002 Outback that was beautiful till a tow truck destroyed the front end.
Yeah.
You got to appreciate the irony there.
Yeah.
After the tow truck was done with it, sounds like you needed a tow truck.
Well, anyone in chat who's known me for a while here knows that, you know, I buy a new car and I treat it to where it, you know, will last me 15 years, so I never trade it in.
And it wouldn't look 15 years old when you see it.
Yeah.
Sylvan Bucidel has just become a supporter. Thank you, Sylvan. I'm sorry I'm butchering your last name, I'm sure. Are we about ready to get started with today's build?
Yeah. Oh, but I will tell you, the next car will either be a Ford Bronco or a Toyota Land Cruiser. So between the two, I kind of like a sport utility vehicle because I like to sit up a little higher than down in a car. But
Not the Ford Explorer.
no, but I didn't drive my car for that 3 weeks I was gone. I rented a car and I did a Nissan Altima, and I got to tell you, for a 4-door, you know, a lot of windshield, a lot of glass. I mean, kind of sitting low, but I liked
They
it.
refer to that as the greenhouse.
Yeah, I liked it. And I got pulled over. Not for speeding, of all things. I was going from my brother's to a bar, and because it was a rental car, I didn't have the thing turned to auto, so I drove past the cop with no lights on. And he pulled me over. What seems to be the trouble, officer? And he's like, sir, you know, you drove past me with no lights on. And of course, my eye immediately went to the thing where, you know, it's supposed to be turned up to auto.
This is a nitpick I've got.
Yeah.
Back in the day, on the first cars that I owned, if your lights weren't on, you knew that because you couldn't see your dashboard.
Right.
Today, the dashboard lights up regardless if your headlights are on.
Yeah.
And because there are daylight running lights, people can mistakenly think their headlights are on.
Right.
Because you are getting some
You are
light.
getting some.
But from when you're behind a car without headlights,
Right.
you're invisible because if it's dark outside, there's no taillights until you brake.
Right.
So every car should be set to auto.
Yeah.
The Ford dealer, when I would take my Mustang in, they would go through the safety check, and they would always give me the car back with the headlight switch moved from auto to off.
Mm-hmm.
How many times do I move that switch? I put it on auto, I leave it there. And I complained to the service manager. I said, you are giving the car back in a dangerous position, a dangerous situation, because you're not telling me you're doing that.
Right.
And I don't know, my lights aren't on unless I'm somewhere without street lights and it's really dark. Because Phoenix is a big suburban area, so it's all very well lit. You could drive without your lights and not even realize it. But the people around you will realize it. And I said, you know, you should be doing the exact opposite. When you're done with whatever that test is where you have to switch it off, you should either set it to auto for the safety of the customer or put it back the way you found it. But I think by default, auto should be the default. And it just gets under my skin because I said the other thing it does is it makes me feel like an idiot. When I'm driving around after I got my oil changed 3 days ago, someone's flashing their lights at me and I'm like, what? And then I look at my switch and I realize, oh, I just got this back from the dealer. They always switch it to off. So annoying.
But as soon as I told the cop that I was visiting my brother and I said my brother's name and he went, ah, yes, I know that bonehead. Yeah, I'll let you go. So, and right next to Vail, Colorado is a city called Eagle. And every year they have what's known as the Eagle Block Party for two days and all kinds of bands and whatever. And I said I came up to attend the Eagle Block Party, and the police officer said, oh yeah, I'm going too. And I'm like, yeah, I got a VIP ticket. And he's like, yeah, I didn't. So I felt a little, okay.
Making friends everywhere you go.
Yeah, so, but he let me go, and you know, surprisingly didn't say, have you been drinking? I thought that was the first thing, you know, that. But he could clearly tell when he ran my license, no tickets, no accidents, no nothing in 40 years. So just, and he said, well, now that I see that you turned it to auto, you have a nice night. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, it's not like you were doing that
Yeah.
on purpose.
Then I went
That
to
was
the-
nice that he let you know.
Then I went to the bar and had 10 drinks. All right, so, and drove home, yeah.
They should name a beer brand occasionally. And then when they ask if you drink, you say, I drink occasionally.
Yeah.
There's Peter Laycock again with 10 pounds. Carey, can you please reinstate Paul Howe to blue? Paul Howe isn't blue. Oh, there he is. Of course, as you wish. Turn that on. There we go.
Boom.
Another injustice has been corrected.
Okay. Well, you want to get the case? Don't herniate yourself.
Not yet.
Not
I think
yet.
we should prep the board.
Oh,
case
yeah,
is a
that's true
case,
too.
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So I think we can take the power supply and move it aside for now.
All right.
Stick it somewhere out of the way. I don't care. And Raj D says hello. Hey, welcome in, Raj. Thank you for your contribution yesterday as well. Richard Collins says, I bought your Uncle Carey's Windows 10 optimizer. Right on. I think it's only $7. Thank you for supporting the channel. And I hope it serves you well.
One click and there's all the things that used to take you quite a bit. Do go here, turn this off, turn this on.
Let's see. Robert in the chat room wants to know, can anyone guide me as to upgrading what I already have? Don't laugh, it's an HP Elite Tower 8200. So I don't know, HP makes a lot of models that, you know, they might have carried the 8200 over a series of years. And every year the generation of processor changes, and they may have variations of how it's equipped. So we'd have to know what's the processor, what's the RAM, what's the storage, about how old is it, and what is it it's not doing well enough that you're wanting to improve. We have a lot of very, very intelligent, kind people in our community.
Not knowledgeable.
And so while Mitch and I are working on this, let them answer that question and watch the chat room for their responses, and I'm sure they will give you some great recommendations. Rick Lake says, hello, Carey and Mitch. Speaking of Minnesota, there's our friend Rick Lakes. Welcome in, Rick.
Got to get to Minneapolis someday. Just heard a lot of good things about it.
I've
I'm
never
like,
been
yeah,
to Wisconsin or Minnesota. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, got to get there, so.
I just know when we were growing up in Michigan and it was cold, we were like, well, you think it's cold here.
Here, yeah, you should go to Wisconsin.
You
or
should go
Minnesota.
to Minneapolis,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so what do you want to do first? What do we do?
Pull the board out, I guess.
All right,
Yeah.
well, what are you waiting on?
Yes, sir.
Geez, been on for 36 minutes and done
Hey,
squat.
I'm on strike. Oh, no, that's because I'm in the screen.
Oh,
actors
you're not
Guild.
allowed.
Yeah.
You're a scab right now.
Yeah.
Aren't you? No, this isn't written.
No.
It's all live, unrehearsed.
And did I tell Chat that I campaigned to be a local board member of the Screen Actors Guild, and I found out that I ran unopposed, so so I got the job.
You got the job nobody else wanted.
I got the job.
So those of you who don't know, Mitch Morrison is an actor. He is a thespian. He is got an IMDb page.
Yes, and again, if
He's
you,
got his own YouTube channel.
if you go to IMDb, Mitch Morrison, and you take a look-see, every click that people do helps with some sort of, I don't know, star rating or whatever. Whenever I
Makes you more popular.
say that, it makes me more popular. So
Michael Horico with a $20 super chat says, hey, Carey and Mitch and Chad haven't been able to send support money in a while. So here you go. I'm always watching. Thanks always. About to do another build soon. And that's from Mike in Cleveland, Ohio.
ah.
All right, now, there is some more stuff in that box.
Oh,
Do we want to go through it? Because I'll need to get the close-up camera before we go much further.
okay.
We don't have Camera Girl here today. She might be here later, I'm not sure.
Oh, there is.
Hold on, wait, let me get the close-up camera.
Well, I'll do it. Or I mean, yeah, you turn it on and I'll hold it. And you show, or you want me to do it?
I want you to do it.
Okay.
People see me do it a million times.
All right.
You should be getting good at it by now, don't you think?
Okay.
I also wanted to say, Frankie B sent us a message with his contribution that I wanted to read. And he said, I'm at work today and I won't be able to watch today's stream in full, so I sent you a little something via Amazon. That's kind. So once again, a big shout out. He was very generous with his
Frankie
Amazon
B.
gift card. So Frankie B, if you see him in the chat room, please say hello. And let him know you guys appreciate his contribution, what is essentially to the community. Those contributions are what's paying for everything here. All right, let me grab the camera. And I'm going to be Camera Girl. I might need longer hair and more tattoos.
I was gonna have a comeback, but I held my, I held my.
See that? You can teach an old dog
Yeah.
a trick. He's learned. All right, I'm going to go back over here to OBS.
Okay.
And then what I want you to do is right here where it says, I'm going to turn on the close-up camera, but see camera 1 is on,
Yeah.
and anything above takes precedent over what's below. So
Okay.
all you have to do is click that eyeball on camera 1.
When you tell me to.
As soon as I grab right now it's pointing up at the ceiling.
Oh. Okay.
So I didn't click over to it because I don't think everybody wants to look at the ceiling.
Okay.
But you can switch it over anytime now.
Now.
Yep.
One click.
There he is.
All right.
All right, so
We've got a box.
we got to
that-
work backwards.
that had our motherboard in, and her motherboard was here, and then we got two things here.
Yeah, what do we got in there?
You want me to work backwards? Okay, we got
Let's
a,
take that out.
okay,
Documentation, I see here.
documentation. Yeah, always a must. Gotta have a Go Faster sticker.
Oh, that'll make it run 20%.
3D, all right, okay. We've got our NVMe screw, right?
We're
Is
going to
that-
need those.
We're gonna need both of them?
Are you sure there's only 2?
2, a 3,
What else we got?
a 4.
4 of them. All right.
Can I say 5?
5 of them.
5 of them. We have a SATA, is that it? Yeah, SATA cable.
Is there
Oh,
one
we
or
got
2 in there?
That looks like 2.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
2.
We're
I
not
know.
using them, but
And then we got, ooh, are these Velcro ties?
they are. They come with the motherboard.
Yeah.
Nice.
Instead of ZZ Tops Velcro Fly. All right, these are Velcro ties.
Dated reference for those of you
Yeah.
watching us.
Okay,
from
so let's put the
1976.
documentation back.
All right.
Go faster sticker. We'll put the things back in the things here.
Just toss that.
Just toss
We're
it.
not going to use
Okay.
that. We're going to put all the spare parts, anything we don't use, from all the hardware, documentation from
Okay.
the CPU or the RAM, power cable and extra cables for the power supply are all going to go in this box. So we don't want anything. We don't need that little separator in here because that'll just.
What we may build on the box. Ah. A lot of times these bags aren't sealed. Is there a reason why? Some of them have tape,
It depends on the manufacturer.
and some of them have a little snoot of tape there, and then some are just folded very nice, but I prefer not to have the tape. And then some have this styrofoam thing that it sits in purple rain here. Okay, let's it's strapped, see, Chad? Yeah, with two doodads here that you gotta.
How many do you count?
4, I guess. 4.
Count them again. Put your finger on each one. Where is your finger? There. 1.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was just seeing if you were paying attention. Yeah,
Okay. I can't afford to pay attention.
Okay. Swilwaukee. Oh, here it is. Might want to cut myself. All right.
Yeah, YouTube doesn't allow that. Don't demonetize me. Oh no, don't use that.
Don't use that. Use
Mitch is
scissors.
grabbing the razor blade like he's going to do
Use
surgery.
scissors.
No, use the angled cutters.
These?
The red and black. Yeah, those are much safer to use. And they're ideal for cutting away zip ties. Makes it super easy.
Oh,
Barely
yeah.
an inconvenience.
A 1.
Hold on. You got to move a little slower so
sorry,
the
yeah.
camera can follow.
All right.
Everybody wants close-ups of seeing cable ties being cut in half.
A 2. Now to my left, your right.
There we go.
How's that?
And I think for these last two, I'll just go whip high.
Okay, yeah. It keeps it in there secure. I'll give
sure.
I'll give you that. It ain't gonna bounce out. Okay. Now we can take it out by just, don't bend it.
We can work on it while it's in there. We don't have
Oh.
to take it out.
Okay.
No harm.
No foul.
No harm, no foul.
Okay, we'll get rid of the bag.
Yeah.
And what do you suggest? This CPU?
Well, you're driving.
Oh, okay.
You asking me for directions? You're the one behind the wheel.
CPU, okay, which is this beautiful, no shiny, okay. And here,
Now,
here's your-
we've talked about the way Intel packages CPUs. One side of the box
has
all this information on it, and you would have to cut the entire length of this.
right down here, yeah.
And you really, this is the information you need for your warranty if you need
Mm-hmm.
it. So if you turn the box to the opposite side, you see it's just got a little tiny piece of tape right here. Guess which side Intel wants you to open?
Well, then it should say that. Open this, stupid.
Well, then I wouldn't need a job. I mean, I wouldn't need to tell you.
Okay.
People wouldn't read it anyway. Who are we kidding?
And then do you open it this way, or is it this way?
Just got to be a little smarter than the box. We're getting there.
Okay, what do we have here? Documentation.
Yeah, we're just going to set all the documentation aside. That will all go in the empty motherboard box.
Here's our chip. How do you get that out?
You should be able to pull it right through.
Oh,
Just kind of, wiggle back and wiggle up and down while you pull. There it is.
okay, they can't see that with the glare, but 4i5. Okay, Okay, we'll set that here, and then we'll set our,
Now that's our heat sink in there, right? So that's already got thermal compound attached to it. And we want to just keep that covered up and put it off to the side for right now.
okay. Here's our chip.
Now, do you want to grab a suction cup?
Yeah.
They're right over there, and on underneath the streaming computer.
Oh,
Yeah. You should see a little plastic container with suction cups in it.
on this shelf.
Yeah, it should be real close to you.
Yeah.
Find it? This is a little Uncle Carey's secret tip. Go on Amazon, you buy these for, I don't know, $7. You get a little package of them. They're like for hanging things on windows and stuff. And we only just need the one.
Okay. Now, you want me to leave it this way or turn it this way? Whatever way you want.
Go ahead and turn it so it's facing you.
Me?
Yeah. All right, because if you're doing this, folks, at home, you will be where Mitch is standing. That's at least where I would recommend you be.
I can't take this pressure. Here's our lever, and you want to just gently get it away from this. So you want to push down and away, very
Correct.
gentle. And then it's got a lot of spring to it, so you
And
just...
you'll notice this one opens the opposite direction. You notice how it's opening up, like the hood of a Corvette opens the opposite way.
Towards me?
Yeah, it's going to go towards you.
Can I
so-
lift that? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you could if you wanted to. You could have pulled it up by this
Oh,
little metal
okay.
part here, but you're fine. Now, of course, I have instructed you incorrectly because now this is in your way of being. Mitch can't really see that socket very well. People at home can see it great. We have 1,700 little pins down in there. They're very delicate. And when we put the CPU in, we want to be really cautious we don't put any downward pressure on it. CPU is going to go in only one direction. Now, because it's rectangular, we know it's one of two directions because the other two directions obviously wouldn't fit.
And if you wonder, you got a triangle right below the screw here that's white, that's telling you.
Is there?
Mm-hmm. Am I seeing things? Yeah.
It appears correct. Okay, and then there'll be a little triangle on the CPU as well. If we look closely, if you bring that CPU underneath the camera, bring it to the camera here. Usually it's the lower right side. Where is it? Sometimes it's etched onto the surface of the CPU. And you have
Oh,
to
it's
kind of-
so, yeah, sometimes it's etched, but I don't, it used to be a white triangle as well, but there's dots on all four corners, so.
Let me see this real
Yeah.
quick, because
Carey makes me do
yeah,
it.
now you can see the triangle in the lower left,
Oh, gotcha, yep, yeah.
etched right on. Okay,
Carey makes me
so
do this.
you're
and this-
gonna
this is
want
what
to turn this motherboard 180 degrees so that the open side is facing the installer, and you're gonna line that triangle up
Okay,
with the other triangle.
I can't take this pressure. And it is,
I know this makes Mitch nervous. And just go ahead and grab your suction cup and push it straight down on the, close to the middle. Push it firm. And then pull up on the little nub. There you go.
and where's you kind of said the triangle.
Well, we know, I'm gonna take
Oh,
the
'cause of
pressure
the-
off you
yeah,
here.
Okay, because of the writing, yeah, gotcha.
We know it's gotta go on either this direction,
Or
it can't go on
the
this
that
way,
way,
right? And the only important thing you need to worry about is you don't put any downward pressure. All right, so even without even knowing where the arrows are, and I honestly don't know, by just setting that down, if it doesn't seat, then we,
Because some of them have little notches, correct? That it kind of,
well, this does have the
All of them.
notches. They're at the top and the bottom.
oh, I see them, yeah.
You see
yeah.
'em?
Very, very, very tiny, yeah, little notches, yeah.
Yeah, in the socket and little notches cut out in the CPU.
Yep.
On the top and the bottom.
Yep.
And that will also ensure that it only seats one way. So if you look at where the little notches are, if I can get this camera to focus, you'll see the notches in the CPU are not aligning with the notches in the socket. That means of the two ways I could have put it in, I've put it in the wrong way. So this has to be rotated 180, so you would lift it up first. Pull it, take it up higher. Don't be so close to that socket. Go ahead and rotate it around. And you notice Mitch is holding it by the edges. That is correct.
And now,
And now just gently set it into the socket and let it go. Now, if it's not fully seated into the socket, all we need to do is just give it a little gentle, oh, actually, I think you did get it. It's not moving. You notice how I'm just kind of wiggling, but no downward pressure because we're still not touching the pins underneath. Until this latch comes down, that's when it applies downward pressure.
Yep.
Now, on the older CPUs, we would just close this down and this little plastic protector would pop off automatically. These won't pop off automatically anymore. So we just take it off and that will go, this will go into the motherboard box along with the documentation. Now go ahead and let the lid close. That's it. And now lower that lever until it locks underneath.
and you'll see, chat.
Now it's pushing that CPU down. And he's, you see, Mitch has got to use his man muscles. There he goes. And then to take that suction cup off, simply slide it
On the vertical. Yeah.
on the vertical. Slide, don't even pull up, it just falls right off. And he'll put it back in. And that is seating the delicate socketed CPU there.
The brains of the
Yeah, it's kind
computer.
of the brain, for sure. Now, do me a favor and click on that eyeball on camera 1.
Oh.
And we'll go back to camera 1 here.
Click on this eyeball.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes. There, he did it. All right, and I'm going to turn close-up camera off,
Okay.
and then we'll be on this camera angle here for a few minutes. What do you think? Did it give you any more confidence in doing that?
Yeah.
I figure,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you got to do it enough times you
Yeah.
get numb to it.
I mean, with the notches, like you said, you can tell where we had it upside down, they weren't lined up. So as long as you're not there, you just like, no, got to turn it 180.
Yep, it
And
does require your short eyeballs.
I kind of like the ones though where when you were a little off and you would just gently, it seemed to drop.
This'll do the same thing.
Kind of drop
They're-
in there, and that kind of gives you the clue where you know you're right when you get just a dunk that it's not way, but just enough where you're like, think it's seated
Yeah,
down.
so you could intentionally put the CPU in just a little outside of the socket and then just give it a little nudge and it'll fall in.
Yeah.
If you put it in the way you did, it's sometimes hard to tell, am I on the edge? But that's why I try to move the CPU without pushing down on it. I try and move it left and right or up and down to make sure it is firmly in the socket. Maybe if I had younger eyeballs, then maybe I could eyeball it, but you know. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to put the 5 screws in that go to the M.2s. And the reason for this is these screws get lost. They're very, very tiny screws.
A number 1 screwdriver? Or,
Yeah, we're going to need a very small screwdriver, but first I want you to see where they're going to go. We've got 2 M.2 sockets underneath this long heatsink.
Okay.
We've got an M.2 socket right here, so a screw's going to go here, because that's going to be 1, 2, and 3. And then we've got 2 M.2 sockets underneath this big heatsink. There's a Gen 4 NVMe slot and a Gen 5 NVMe slot opposing each other, so you can only use one or the other.
Okay.
And right over here, we have an M.2 style slot. Well, it is an M.2 slot, but it's a Wi-Fi slot. And so you're going to put 1 screw here, 1 screw here, 1 screw here, 1 screw here, 1 screw here. Total is 5. How many did we get?
5.
5. And then our NVMe drive is a Gen 5. We're going to have to lift up this heatsink and this heatsink. And before we put the screw into, we'll save that for last.
Fast. So yeah.
So the first thing you want to do is just grab the GIS driver, and let's go ahead and take that out. Giovanni says, I follow you from Italy. Yeah, and our friend Marco Malmstrom, he also joins us from Italy. Those screws may be held captive,
Okay.
which is a good thing. That means they won't come out and fall on the floor and then you lose them.
I have been to Italy with my father, been to Rome and Venice. So you think they're... Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I guess it's close up. My break is over.
Okay.
All right, so what I want you to do is to click on that camera one eyeball.
Eyeball,
again,
yeah.
And we'll switch back over. Whenever you're ready. There he is. So just showing what's underneath. Oh, that's in the bag.
Yeah.
But what's underneath that heatsink that Mitch just removed is this M.2 slot that was hidden from view and this other M.2 slot. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a screw and place it here. Not here. This holds the heatsink. This, we'll put the screw in here, but we're not going to put an M.2 in here. When the owner of this computer, at some point, if they decide to populate this, they won't have to go looking for the
Now
screw.
this one's too big.
That one's too big?
You think?
I don't know, is it?
Boy, that's tiny.
I'd say that's not too big. It looks like it's fine.
Okay. So I'm going to put one in here.
No, that's holding the heatsink on.
Oh.
Remember, the socket
Yeah.
is, this is where the M.2 drive is going to plug in, and it's the opposite side that the screw goes to. The magnetism might be a little weak on that driver.
Yes.
So in the drawer, hold on, in the drawer, there's a screwdriver magnetizer. It should be right up close to the edge, close to you. I mean, that'll work if you want to use that. Yeah, now you've got, yeah, that's correct. And you've noticed there's a single hole there, and it says magnetize.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that?
Here?
Yeah, it says demagnetize using the lower holes, magnetize using the upper, and just run the screwdriver through that hole about a half dozen times. Why does that seem offensive? All right, you should be good. Now, when you go to pick up that screw, using magnetized screwdrivers is highly recommended when building a computer because the screws are very, very tiny.
Ah,
And that should,
much better.
now it's freshly magnetic.
Isn't that amazing?
There
Okay.
you go.
And I want it, now I'm confused. This one.
Correct.
And just till it stops.
Yeah.
Boom.
And now we're going to do the same thing, and it's going to go there. And that is a JIS driver, by the
Oh,
way.
here, right?
Correct. That is a skilled craftsman at work.
Okay.
Now,
What next?
while we're here, let's
Mhm.
go ahead and put a screw in the little M.2 Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
It's got a little piece of tape over it. It's like gold,
Okay.
and I can use a fingernail and I can peel that off.
Why do they do that?
I really don't understand why they do it. And you just need a fingernail, really, and it'll just... It's hard to do this while I'm not actually looking at what I'm doing. I'm
Oh.
looking at what the camera is filming. See that? You see it
Oh, yeah,
peeling
I
off?
did, yeah.
And so we'll just take that, and now it's ready.
Do many people buy those Wi-Fi? I'm curious.
On a desktop, no. Most people, if they're going to add Wi-Fi,
You just get the USB.
yeah,
dongle.
just get USB.
Dongle.
Or they might just add, if they want Wi-Fi and Bluetooth,
Mhm.
to just plug a card into the
'Cause
PCI.
what is a card typically? $25
Yeah.
for this card?
Whereas a dongle could be
$25.
Okay.
Dongo might actually
Now,
set
do you
back.
want me to remove
Well, let's
this
go ahead
one
and put this heatsink back
back
on.
on? Does it have tape, chat? Ooh.
Yeah, we have thermal tape, which we leave on until we're ready to install a drive, which we're not going to do on this build. Now, which direction did that come off? Yeah, I think you've got it right.
Yeah, I'm gonna think.
It can be a little tricky to line up the screws with the mounts underneath, but you'll know. You'll know when you find it.
That doesn't feel. Oh, I guess right there.
Blue Star Line wants to know if he can move a solid-state drive to a new motherboard without having to reinstall Windows. That's a definite maybe. Some cases you can, in some cases you can't. My suggestion for you is you give it a shot. If it doesn't work, come in here and let us know what the trouble is, and we can help you. But what we can't do is we can't see the future, and we can't know what you're going to be able to do. Yeah, see, it's a little hard to line up, isn't it?
Yeah. I figure if I get the one,
Yeah, the other one will line up automatically,
Yeah.
right? And just get them started. Don't tighten them down. Or don't tighten one down before
Okay.
the other, is what I'm trying to say.
a couple of turns.
Yeah. And you shouldn't need to put any downward pressure on that screwdriver. The weight of the screwdriver is all you need.
Couple of turns.
Yeah, now you can tighten it down. And once again, it doesn't have to be mondo tight, just snug.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
Tighten that one up a little bit
A
more.
little bit more.
Just want the screwdriver to come to a stop. And then same on the opposite, yeah. Okay, now, we also have this M.2 slot that's gonna need a screw right there.
Okay.
So we're gonna get these out of the way. This is optional, you don't have to do this. You can also optionally pull your hair out 2 years from now when you go looking for those little tiny screws because you want to add an M.2. I think from the factory, these darn screws should be in the standoffs, and they're just wasting plastic bags. Each one of those little screws was its own dedicated plastic bag that'll take 1,000 years to biodegrade. But don't worry, it'll end up in the ocean and we'll end up eating it.
Yeah.
Did you bring that to a full stop? With the little, I just don't want them to vibrate loose.
Yeah.
Okay, now you notice this heat sink is really heavy duty.
Okay.
And if we look at the top of it here, it says this is the, hold on, everything's backwards. When I move left, this moves to the right. So it says blazing M.2.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, I gotta go, up is down, down is up,
Up.
right is left. All right, let's try that. So we've got 2 screws there. Go ahead and remove that, but look at how chunky that heatsink is. That is way better than any heatsink you're gonna get from an NVMe drive manufacturer. It's larger, heavier, and it's just gonna dissipate
Oh,
heat
the
better.
screw's way down there. Okay. And you think they might be capped. Okay. I'll just loosen it up here.
Richard Palmentier with a $5 super chat said, "Here's my late fee." Welcome in, Richard. Thank you for supporting the channel, my friend.
Happy Friday. Let's see here. Did I get it? I got the one side, not the other.
And those look like they're being held captive too, which is good.
Got our tape.
All right. So,
Chunky.
yeah, that's a beefy heatsink.
No.
So you notice we have 2 opposing M.2 sockets. You can only use one or the other. One of these is the Gen 5, and it's the only Gen 5, and it might even say right on top of it which one's which.
Right here. Yeah. PCIe Gen 5 × 4.
Yeah?
Blazing M.2, which means it's this one?
Well, I don't know.
Oh.
What does this one say?
That just says PCIe 1.
Well, the instructions will make it out. Sometimes it's written, it's etched on the board. But as I recall from the last time we built these, it was this one that was the Gen 5.
Okay. So where do you want
So
me?
I can read the directions, or I can just guess, and if we get it wrong, we just turn it around. And we'll know from the performance.
So where do you want me to put the screw? No wise
Now,
guys,
you
right?
notice there's a standoff already installed.
Okay, yeah.
But there's only one standoff. You can't, if you were going to install the M.2 on this side, then that standoff would have to be moved over to that hole over there.
Mm-hmm.
So the way it ships from the manufacturer is assuming you're going to use that Gen 5 slot
Yep.
right there. And that will be in the 2280 position. Don't confuse it with this one back here. This is a little taller, and it's designed to hold the heatsink on. They do look kind of similar though, don't they?
Yeah.
So the first thing you want to do, I see you've got the screw at the end of the driver, but you have nothing to screw down.
Oh, that's right.
So we want to get the crucial T700 out of its box.
Okay.
That should be taped shut.
Yep.
Darren Gilholm has shared your YouTube channel with
Oh,
everyone.
thank you. I don't really post on that much, Chad. It's, if I got a new film clip, what else have we got in the box? In the box, we got documentation. And then,
Oh, well, it's in my language too.
yes. And then here's
Hieroglyphics.
here's our, I'll get it out of the box, or out of the plastic.
Will they give us any screws or anything? Not that we need it, but I'm just kind of curious. Sometimes some M.2 manufacturers are including the little screws.
And remember, Chad, don't bend the plastic. Well, this one. just
Well,
slides
NVMe
right
drives
out.
are in
Yeah,
loose. It's
yeah,
only the RAM that's in tight.
yeah. Beautiful.
What's the other side look like? That's probably the side they intend to be up, but it's going to be covered with a heatsink, so it doesn't really matter. It only goes in one way. If we turn this so Mitch can see it, we're going to want to put it in this socket, and you're going to align the notch that's cut out at the end here. Don't touch the gold end with the notch that's in the socket right over there.
You ready?
Yeah.
Boy, this
He's
is
going to put it in on a bit of an angle
like that. Yeah,
and kind of wiggle and push. There you go.
like a diving board.
And now, yeah, it kind of reminds me of a reverse diving board, doesn't it? Now he can take that final screw, and we're just going to bring that down till the screw comes to a full stop. It's just going to hold that NVMe drive in place.
Just like that.
Now, grab the heatsink, and we're going to pull the protective tape off the back of the thermal tape that's on the back of this heatsink.
Now, was it this way or was it that way?
Well, usually if there's writing, the writing all faces, like,
Okay.
you notice how that's facing that way?
Ah, so it-
Usually
yeah.
writing all faces that way.
So we're gonna,
Now, we do want to remove this protective tape, otherwise the thermal pad will be defeated and you might run into heat issues. And worse, that the plastic tape could melt and then things get smelly and sticky. Two of my least favorite things are smelly and sticky.
so you think it's like,
Yeah, he's gotta try and figure, there's nothing to really help guide you. So you just gotta figure out where to get the captive screws to align with their mount points.
and I just can't,
Well, that's okay, just grab the screwdriver,
okay.
and using the weight of the screwdriver, start to, yeah, you can kind of move it around a little bit and see if you can feel the screwdriver going into a mount point. If not, lift up the heatsink a little bit so that the screw can get into the hole, right? Because if you're at the outside edge, then moving it around keeps you at the edge. You have to lift. You can lift and turn the screwdriver at the same time to locate the mount point.
I think I got it now.
You
Or at least
feel it
this
right
side.
through the screwdriver.
Yeah, I think I got
Got
that.
it? Now the other side should automatically align. If anything, maybe a little up or down movement is all that's required.
Mm-hmm.
There's a man hard at work right there, folks.
That's why I get the big money. All right,
That's right. You should see the size of the nickel I give him.
Yeah.
It's huge. Oh, you didn't get that side, did you? So loosen the other side up because you prematurely tightened it down. One of the ways you can tell when you start the screw, to see if you've started it, just pull.
Okay.
If it pops up, you didn't get it started like you thought you did. So here's what I'm recommending. Take the screwdriver, place the screwdriver with one hand. Now use your other hand and pull up on this and see by pushing down on the driver, see if you can find the hole. If you think you've got it started, then pull up on it, take the screwdriver. Does it pull up anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not, again, take the screwdriver, place the screwdriver gently. All right, now you're gonna lift on this and move it around and let me know when you feel the screw fall into the hole. About right there. It seems like it's not moving anymore, left or right.
I'll try it. I'll give it a few turns.
That's
and
it.
now
No? So this side's too tight. That's part of our problem. Let's see if we tighten that too far out. Yeah, we're okay now.
I think you got it there.
Another way is you can measure the gap to see that that's straight across. Now, give that a few turns. How many old men does it take to screw down a heatsink?
Oh,
I'd say he's got it, folks. And now you don't have to go back and forth. Now you can
Okay.
go ahead and firmly, yeah. He's done it. He's done it? So what's the last thing?
Okay.
You need a drink?
No.
You need a break?
That pressure. No, I mean that's fine. I
You're
think
only
we can
being judged
Yeah,
by-
I think we can take you off this top one, the eyeball. Yeah, that one.
We're gonna do the RAM next, aren't we?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Beautiful. Johnny says, "Nice job, Mitch." Yeah.
Live long and prosper.
Yeah.
We got the Vulcan DDR5. Yeah, well, you're gonna have to cut the tape. Mitch has been trusted with the knife today.
Yes.
Without adult supervision.
Yeah. Oh, Chad, since the last time I was here, I have had a couple of acting auditions. One was for a Medicare supplement plan.
Really? Boy, that you
And
can really know
yeah,
your age.
Yeah, and I
regardless.
think, needless to say, I didn't get the job, but they're looking for the guy with the salt and pepper hair, and I mean,
They're looking for somebody who looks like they're on Medicare.
yeah, like they're on Medicare. So
All right, what do you got there?
I got
Package,
yeah,
little instructions, probably a little go faster sticker in there.
and,
No RGB, because we're over 14.
and how do you get these packages
Well-
open again? You gotta
First of all, think about how that package is going to open. The way you turned it,
this way it's gonna open, right?
right? So you don't want it upside down and have the RAM fall out and hit the table. So you're going to have to find like a little lip to separate.
Gotcha. I got it. Yeah. Ah.
And then there'd be a little go faster sticker in there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Slick.
That'll make it go faster.
And again, don't bend the plastic.
Yeah, and those the T-Force RAM is in there pretty loose. It's not as tight as some other manufacturers. And we want to avoid making any contact with the gold fingers, the gold contacts. We want to,
Am I
you
doing
can hold it literally anywhere else.
Am I doing it right?
No, you're fine.
Oh, I don't want to force it. This end's
Well, what
coming
I
out.
would recommend you do is just let the table help you and put one finger to push down on this RAM module while this other finger lifts up on that RAM module.
Oh.
Doesn't that make it easier?
Yeah.
Now, when we come over to the motherboard, we have 4 RAM sockets, and we have these little retention levers, and we're going to open them all up. Come over to the other side. Now, how do we know which two to use?
Normally, it on the board itself, it says, you know.
Look at the screen.
Oh, right there, yeah.
See where it says DDR5A1, DDR5A2, DDR5B1, and DDR5B2. That means in this order.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. And you see how two of them are connected? It says first.
Gotcha, yeah.
What does it say?
And then skip one, and then, yeah.
What does
so
it say?
A2 and B2.
Correct. Which ones are A2 and B2?
This one and this one? Or am I on?
Look at the print.
Oh, got it, yeah. This one
Is A2,
and this one.
B2. So
that-
you'll see there's a notch, and the memory has a notch. So if you turn the memory the other way around, you'll notice the notch is not in the middle. So if you were to put it in that way, I want you to just gently place the RAM into these tracks of socket A2,
Won't fit.
and you'll notice that that notch
Is off.
isn't lining up. And that ensures you cannot install the RAM incorrectly. And that's why you never use brute force. Everything should be smooth. So go ahead and pull the RAM out first, straight up, turn it 180 degrees, and then gently place it back into its guiding track on both sides. Don't worry about the connector, just worry about getting it in the track. Once he's got it in the track, you're going to use both thumbs on each hand.
And you
Put one thumb on each side.
And you sure the notch lined up? I can't see from this side.
Well,
but-
It has to be because it didn't line up the other way.
Okay.
But you do want to make sure before you put any force down that we are lined up. And it certainly looks lined up to me. So with force, push down on one corner and we'll probably hear it click. And now the other corner. Perfect. Now repeat that in socket B2, which is going to be the one closest to the edge of the board. This is called channel 1. And on all DDR4 and DDR5 motherboards that have more than 2 sockets for RAM, you always skip a slot.
So we want this one.
Yes. And we started at this one because if we started with this one, it'd be hard to film him going into that other one. Make sure it's, it's slid in easily. Thumbs. All right, thumbs. It's Mitch, all thumbs. That's a very satisfying click.
And then what we want to do is we want to put up these, no use having them down.
Yeah, I would go ahead and close those just because they'll.
32 gigs.
That's 32 gigs.
Beautiful.
i5, 2 terabytes Gen 5 storage. We need to put the cooler on.
Oh. And this one's easy peasy. Only I can't do it. All right, let's. Now,
What is that, Mitch?
that is thermal compound, so do
And-
not touch that. And copper.
How much more thermal compound are we going to add?
This is it.
How much thermal compound do we put on the CPU?
0.
But I've seen other people put thermal compound on the CPU. How come they do that? Because they're using a third-party heatsink that doesn't come with thermal compound on it. It's one or the other is going to get the thermal compound, okay? And when your heatsink, whether it's a water block or anything that comes with it already attached, don't mix thermal compounds. Don't add more thermal compound than what the manufacturer is providing. You're
Now
not going to
let's-
outsmart them. You're only going to make it worse.
Now let's take this doodad. This is our power. And we need to find where on the board this plugs in, because
Usually,
that will
your
have-
CPU power cable is somewhere up and above the CPU socket. And again, we could read our documentation. This
you're-
might be helpful to go ahead and remove the motherboard out
Oh,
of its
okay.
foam.
Yeah.
Go ahead and pull on that foam for me, because it's kind of covering up that edge.
Okay.
So if we look, we've got a couple of fan connectors. They're pretty easy to identify.
Here, this one says CPU fan 1. Right here. Right there.
Where do you see it? Oh,
Right
yeah.
there.
Let me turn it this way. And you can see the etching on the motherboard says CPU fan 1.
I'll give you a little angle.
So
Yeah.
even though they're all fan headers, the BIOS wants to know which one is the CPU fan, because that one's critical that one's running. And it's going to measure to make sure the resistance on the fan is turning. The other ones, they could stop turning, and who cares?
So we kind of want that, we don't want it wrapped around the thing, we want it this way, correct?
Yeah, you want,
Because-
so you know your power cable needs to plug in right there. So you don't want to have to wrap the power cable around it, because
Right.
it could get caught up in the fan when you move the computer.
So in other words, this orientation would be better than, yeah,
Yeah, also you got to think about what cable management's going to look like.
okay.
We want to hide the cables as much as possible with cable management. So what we'll do, you'll notice that if you go ahead and gently put this down over the CPU, and you'll line up those little plastic towers with the holes surrounding the socket. No tools are required for this heatsink installation. Now the towers, they have an arrow on them. Oh, those don't have the arrow. But they rotate clockwise or counterclockwise. They should be in the lock position, which means when you push down on these and they push through, they're gonna lock down. If you ever want to take the heatsink off, you will turn this little tower quarter turn, counterclockwise, I think. And then you can lift up on it. That will release it, and you'll do that to all 4 corners, and then you'll be able to lift the heatsink off. But out of the box, it should already be in the lock position. So what I want you to do, Mr. Mitchell Morrison, is I want you to pick one tower, use your thumb, and then at the same time, hold on, don't do anything. Put your thumb over the tower. Don't push down yet. Now go to the opposite tower. That's exactly what I wanted you to do. Now push down one, and then you'll hear a click. Push down the other. See that? Now do the same thing with the 2 remaining. He did it. Now, do me a favor, hold the end of that cable so we can see what the connector looks like. Okay, so we've got a little groove, if you notice, on one side. One side is smooth, the other side has a groove. That little groove indicates that it's going to hug
Yeah, hug,
that little piece of plastic, that little 2010 monolith.
yeah, not on this side, it's
Right,
on the
that's
other side.
bare. On the other side,
It's gonna hug.
and that's how you know which 4 pins it goes on, so you don't wire it backwards.
Now?
Yeah. And there's no catch on that. It's just a friction fit, and you'll know when it's on. Imagine doing that if it was in the case.
I don't wanna force it, but
It's gonna be a friction fit.
Did I do it?
Just need to see the other side. It's dark. I can't see.
Aziz.
Aziz, light.
Name the movie. All right.
It looks like you got it. It's really dark.
Yeah.
And I'm probably making everybody motion sick.
Okay. How about back to camera 1?
Yeah, I think we can go
Yeah.
back to camera 1 now.
Eyeball.
No, that's the like and subscribe. That's all right. If you enjoy the content, be sure to hit the thumbs
Do
up.
I hit the eyeball again and it'll go away? Yeah?
It's gonna go away on its own.
Oh, so now I can go just down to this one?
That's the camera 1 eyeball.
Okay.
There he goes. And we'll,
you shall
I'm gonna
need a
film
zip,
these
you
people.
shall need a zip tie, all right.
and we'll shut that off.
To clean that up, Carey will check it now. Spy it with his little eye, but he'll need his glasses.
How do you know these
These
things?
things.
It's like he can see the future.
And one zip tie.
Isn't that a song by the Wallflowers?
Mm.
Just one zip tie. All right, we're here to inspect your work.
Yes, sir.
At ease, soldier. I don't like this little,
Okay.
they don't want you throwing this in the
Well,
trash.
he's doing that.
I gotta get myself a cold drink.
Watch your step. There's parts everywhere in here. Yeah, I want to cut this little tag off because it just looks
The one
terrible.
that says do not remove, like on a mattress.
Yeah, punishment of death.
Punishable by law. You got any fresh water?
Punishable by a hard life
Fresh
of
water?
constant struggle.
Yeah. Ooh.
Oh, you went with the vodka? I mean, the water?
Yeah. Uncle Carey used to give me Fuji water, which was very snug.
I haven't been buying that lately.
A little pricey, huh?
I've been digging on the Evian lately. The Naive water, when you spell Evian better.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get the rest of this little label off of here.
Don't use shoe goo.
Sugar? Okay. Now I'll put my zip tie on. Do yourself a favor. Put the zip tie on before you mount your motherboard into your case, or it's going to get really confined in there to get your fingers in there to get it cable managed after it's in the mounted into the case. This is pretty much the only cable I manage until after we're finished with the build, and then the cable management is typically the very last thing I do. I guess I'm going to need a second zip tie here because it looks like, for this to look clean, I'm going to, instead of putting it in the middle, because it looks like it's going to bow out on each side, I'll put one on each end, and then it prevents it from bowing.
That's David Bowie.
Don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
Too late. And these can be really hard on your fingers, so I'll usually grab some needle nose pliers to help me cinch these down.
Just till it stops. I mean, you don't want to dig into the cable
No,
itself.
they were fine. This is a braided,
Yeah.
it's got a braided cover on it. You're not going to hurt it. Feel free to cinch it down as much as you want. But yes, if you're dealing with bare wire, you want to be a little bit cautious of that. Let me clear some of our trash out of the way here and get some of this stuff in a recycle. Take that, we'll take that. We'll take this and this and this and this. All right, it's going to help a little bit. And whether or not we want to save the boxes, you know, if we wanted to know where the parts are, there's plenty of room in the motherboard box. So if I wanted to, I mean, I'm going to do this anyway, but I can now lift up the motherboard by this heatsink, set that down, and I'm going to take this little plastic cover, we're going to put it in there. If we ever have to send that motherboard back to the manufacturer, you don't want to send it with a CPU in it, and you don't want to send it with the CPU socket exposed where it can be damaged, or they will deny your warranty. Oh, and this piece, I don't want that in there. Well, I think it's time for a smoke test. You want to go ahead and get the power supply out of the box?
Oh, yeah. I shall.
We'll set that over here. That goes into a different recycling container.
Our C750 gold. Are we having fun yet? Okay. All right. This is fully modular or semi?
What does it say? I think it's fully modular. I'll take that.
Oh, you know I only got a 3rd grade education. Let's see here.
I've told you twice, it's a 2nd grade education. Now, do
Okay.
you ever learn?
Yeah.
We joke, folks, we joke.
I got me.
Sylvan said, I'm watching the live stream. Could you please explain the pinouts for the power switch, reset switch, hard drive LED? Sure, we can go over that.
That. That. Oops, 3D.
Whoops. I didn't mean to. No,
No.
I'm calling by mistake.
Hey.
I've called by mistake. I didn't mean to call you.
Good, because I'm on the treadmill.
Yeah, okay, and I'm live on camera, so.
Oh, great.
But you're not, just your voice.
That's good.
Okay. For everybody
Hi,
watching,
everybody.
that's my
Hi,
sister.
Dad.
She messaged me something, and when I clicked on it, I accidentally called you. That's a sign that I'm getting old. How do you work these things? Hello?
Hello.
Hello, is this on? Where's the beep? How do I leave a message? Okay,
Yeah.
go back to work.
Yep.
All
You
right.
too.
Yep.
Bye. Bye, chat.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. How embarrassing.
What's this thingamajig on here?
What's it say?
To prevent damage to your system, do not connect cables from other power supplies. Ah, okay. Including.
Oh, that is a big mistake people make when they lose their modular power cables. They go on Amazon to buy new ones, and then they plug them in because they fit, and then they blow up their power supply or whatever the opposite
This-
end.
is fully modular.
That's a good power supply. It's $130, 750 watt,
Gold.
fully modular power supply.
Yes, and here's our bag.
All right, give me that box, please. Thank you. Go ahead and open the bag. Open that.
And then
We got a purple
and then
theme.
this would make a nice DOP kit, you know, a nice toiletry for you world travelers.
Do you use power cables for toiletries?
No, but I mean,
just
but you know, that would make a nice toiletry bag. Oh, I got something else in there.
Oh,
the
screws for the power
screws,
supply.
the screws, yeah.
Mike Visions with a 5-pound contribution says, hello, Carey and Sir Mitch. Here is my late fee. Good to see you, Mitch. I see you're still sporting the Toto t-shirt.
Always.
I like how he says the, like there's only one. How many of those do you have, 56?
57, I think. Yeah. I swear to you, I wanted to stop at 50, but I couldn't help myself. All right, what do we need here? We need the.
Just grab that bag and rip it open.
Good thing I had my Wheaties this morning. Does
Yeah.
anybody
Just
even
take
know?
all the cables out and do the same thing with the other bag and give me the bags, please. Because your bags, your cables would go in the bags that would go in the bag that would go in the box that we shipped in a box. We'll make sure that these start
Okay.
immediately decomposing.
I think I know what a 24-pin. Right here. We need that one, right?
Yeah, so we're going to remove that wire tie. Give me that wire tie.
Oh.
All right, now set that cable down. Show me another cable. Just pick up a cable, any cable. We're not going to use that one. Put it in the velour, in the
DOP kit.
purple bag.
Okay.
How about that one? That one, that's a PCIe video card power cable. We're not going to put a video card in here yet. The owner of this might. That is a CPU power cable. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
So take off the wire tie. We need 2 of those.
2.
Yeah, this motherboard takes 2 CPU power cables.
Oh.
Give me that wire tie, please.
And then.
Grab a random cable. Just pick it up. Look at it. Yeah, that's your other CPU power cable right there. CPU power cables and GPU power cables look very similar.
And the rest go back.
Yeah, we're not going to use any others.
Molex. Jeez.
Didn't we get a, where's
seen-
our plug?
I stuck it in the bag.
Oh, all right.
Is that okay? You're just gonna use your normal plug on the floor?
Yes,
right?
I just wanted to make sure we
Oh, yeah.
got it.
Don't trust me. All right, yeah.
I wasn't watching,
Okay.
because I do trust you.
Yeah.
I'm just questioning. Just because I question you doesn't mean I don't trust you. If I didn't trust you, I wouldn't believe the answers.
Okay.
So when I look in the bag to double check, that means I didn't trust you.
Yeah.
So let me see. All right, now, on the power supply, there is a fan on the bottom.
Yeah, so you don't wanna put it, you don't wanna put it like that and choke it out.
People see a fan, they think the
Yeah.
fan is blowing air out, but that fan draws air in.
And
So-
and out that way.
And it's, people always talk about how hot their systems are running. People always talk about positive and negative air pressure. You should be paying attention to what they're not talking about. They're not talking about their power supply. One of the most critical and important parts of your computer might be choked off, suffocated, or installed backwards, might be running hot. There's no way for you to really know other than touching it and checking the filter at the bottom of your case. Make sure if your case sits on carpeting, it's a little bit off the carpet so air can get up underneath. You could be so fixated on your CPU temp and your GPU temp and your thermal compound that you're completely oblivious that you are suffocating the computer and torturing the power supply.
And Uncle Mitch does it twice a year. January, June. I just get in the habit of.
Did we get you
twice
one
a
of
year.
these
Oh, yeah.
USB
Oh,
charging
oh.
air dusters?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, almost blew my wig off.
Touche or toupee.
Toupee.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, so what you would do is you would blow air out through this side and this side, both sides.
Yeah.
And so this is going to draw air in, and then the air that it draws in cools down the components and comes out the back. This is an enclosed ecosystem that has nothing to do with the fans or cooling in your computer. You cannot monitor that with any software. You must use your human brain and your human eyeballs and your human common sense. By not thinking about it, never giving it a second thought, never giving it any consideration, doesn't mean it's less important because you never thought about it.
Because, you know, if your box doesn't have a
If the case,
dust filter, yeah, that was it, senior moment. If your case doesn't have a dust filter, dust is going right into that, and
or you could say chassis.
yeah, you wait a year and you could choke this out.
Well, it depends where you live. Here in Phoenix, we have a lot of dust, so it doesn't take long. And we never filter exhaust air. So if you have filters on your computer case where the air is being blown out, take those filters off because you're restricting your airflow. Filters only go on air that's being drawn in. Intake is what we filter. We do not filter exhaust. Please stop torturing your power supplies. Please, when you're discussing heat, because let's face it, I know this audience, I know people on YouTube, they're so fixated on a non-existent issue of heat. Please be the person who brings up reminding people how hot is their power supply, is the power supply breathing correctly. So when they're all fixated and tunnel visioned on this CPU, GPU, heat, temps, fans, thermal compound, please be the voice of reason and say, yeah, but how's your power supply cooling going? Is it being suffocated? Is your fan turning? When's the last time you've cleaned the filter? That's probably going to be more critical to the operation of the computer than any other discussion on heat. Larry Wood with a $20 super chat. Right on.
Hey,
Thank
man.
you, Larry. Let me see if we've missed others while we were working. Don't let the word get out.
Working.
Paul O'Brien contributes €2. Let me know if it's okay to send the video. Yeah, please send the video. Ian Gooch with a 10-pound contribution. I keep losing my spot. Again, thank you to Roy Starman and Mark Gaines. Thank you to Alan Lindos. Thank you to Zdravko Franchevic. Bradley Morris extends his subscription another month, now at 15 months. Sylvan became a member. Thanks, guys. Thank you to Peter Laycock, of course, and Michael Harico. Louis Grego with a 5-pound contribution. Thank you, Louis. Our friend Richard Balmantier and Alvin Shaver. Thank you for your super chats. And then the two most recent of Mike Visions and Larry Wood. Thanks, guys. Thank you for keeping us sponsor free here.
Now, when you're wanting to do this, you know, smoke test, not in the machine, do you typically, do you plug in the cable to the board first, or to this first and then the board?
Whatever you want. Like, to me, the cable on these power supplies, when they're fully modular, you'll see it's one connector here that's going to go there, but it's two connectors here.
That you gotta.
So these two are going to go side by side or one above the other on the back, depending on the make and model of the power supply.
Yeah.
I usually find the power supply a little more finicky, so I will usually put these in first, but that's just me.
Okay.
And on the back of the power supply, you'll see these two right here, and it's written right on the power supply. You can always read your documentation, but these only plug in one direction, and they only plug in one place.
Okay.
There's no place for this end to plug into the motherboard, so you can't get it wrong.
Yep.
You won't be able to terminate. First of all, there's nowhere to plug this into the back of the power supply. There's no connector big enough, and there's no connector small enough to plug either of those. So I usually will take the power supply and I will set it on the table.
Well, you can't with this.
Oh, I suppose that's true.
You know, because you don't want to crush it, so don't crush my hand.
So we'll just put that one in, and you kind of wiggle and push. And then thinking of cable management, how I want to route that cable beside it. And these usually, you'll hear a satisfying click. So let me just hold this for a second, because it'll be easier for me to give myself my own resistance. I am the resistance. That one, it's not quite all the way in yet. Might be close enough. It is a tight fit, but it's a very important power connector. And then these two connectors, they say CPU and PCIe. We'll use these two next. Now, the both ends to the naked eye, if you're not paying attention, look identical, but you'll notice there's a giant clip on this side, and this side can be, we can convert this by pulling these apart.
Oh.
Because some motherboards will have a 4-pin CPU
Whereas this one you
connector.
can't.
And the opposite side of the cable, it doesn't pull apart. And you see how big the connector gets, this clip?
Yep.
Now look how narrow that clip is. That's gonna fit into the clip hole. Don't be a clip hole.
Yeah. So this one's gonna go.
Yeah, I wouldn't plug it in here yet, because
Right.
then it'll be hard to get the one in between them.
So this one.
Yep. Barry Russ with a $5 super chat says, hey, hey, CareyHolzman in chat, blessings. Right on, thank you, Barry.
Let's listen for the click. I'd say that was a pretty good click. And then if you want to test it, you don't tug it with all your might, but you just give it a little
me see.
doodad like that.
Not
Just
in.
like that.
Not in.
I was just testing you. All right.
So it's not like you want to do a stab. You want to put,
On my microphone. Wait a minute. I'm between. Oh, okay. Here.
you gotta
Yeah,
gotta wake Mitch up with a little
yeah,
juice.
Yeah. Okay.
No, no. Apparently, you did have it and it just doesn't want to stay.
Okay.
That's fine. Same thing with the other one. Recognize the difference between the
Yeah.
two ends by the size of the clip. The skinny clip goes to the power supply.
Yeah, that one.
Dustin Fuller has now been a member for 15 months as well. Look at that.
So this one, yeah, this one's the skinny clip. Skinny clip.
So we're going to use the entire top row. And that's just motherboard power. That's all that is. Nothing else we're installing is going to require power, I don't think. If we were going to do RGB, obviously, we'd have to give power to RGB.
Okie dokie.
And the fans will get powered off the motherboard.
I think. It doesn't feel like it's in there, but you try it.
Just a wiggle and push
Okay.
is fine. Now, once again, I'm going to plug this one in with the clip facing the outer edge. It's the only place it'll fit. and you really kind of want to bring both sides down. I wiggle and push, and then you can see the clip.
Yep.
It'll get flush, it won't stick out. On the opposite side of this motherboard, which is going to be difficult to show you guys, but we have two 8-pin connectors here. And these cables will go on to those connectors. It doesn't matter which cable goes on which connector. It only goes on in one direction, where the clip is going to face the outside edge of the connector. We've got one here and one right beside of it. They're both 8 pins. A lot of power supplies don't come with two 8-pin connectors. Now, it depends on the system you're building, but in many cases, that second 8-pin EPS power connector is optional for people who overclock. If you have no intention of overclocking, and we have no intention of doing that, we probably don't need the second one. You would need to refer to your motherboard manual to determine if your power supply only has one, to verify that it'll work with just one. Like a Threadripper needs them all, for example.
But if you put them in both, it doesn't hurt.
It won't hurt anything.
It won't hurt anything.
So I made sure when I ordered a power supply that I got one that had both EPS power connectors. I don't know how well you can see that, but that's pretty much all there is to that. Now, normally I would never test the system outside of the box, except when I'm making videos for you guys to see. Or I'm using used parts or parts from not a reputable website where I want to, wherever I sourced the parts from, I might want to test them before I install them so I don't have to uninstall them if they don't work. But when I'm buying parts from a reputable retailer, and there's nothing experimental here, I have no reason to believe it's not going to work. All I'm doing is opening up an opportunity to damage this by powering it up outside of the case where it's not properly grounded and it's open to the environment. But if I do it that way, if I put it in the case and do it the way I normally do it, it's not really anything for you to watch. So I will almost universally,
Are we buffering? Yeah. Now we're in the red.
well,
Oh,
I'm glad you mentioned that. We are still recording locally, so when this occurs, we're not gonna, it used to be I wasn't recording locally when this would happen.
right.
And I've since, you notice it says stop recording and stop streaming, it automatically starts recording when we start the stream.
Oh,
So we have a local recording of this. So right now, the OBS was having some internet connection issues, and we can see, we can see it dropping there.
yeah.
William R. says, turn the air conditioner down and get the video for us.
We sure need it here.
It's struggling, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm seeing OBS is getting a good connection, and then it's wobbling and falling and then getting back up again.
It's not raining outside.
Yeah,
It's-
no, I was looking out the
yeah,
window
it's
and
sunshine.
it looks like it wants to rain.
No wind.
Hopefully we're back and everything should be good. It's live video, folks. I was just telling Mitch, well, it was buffering for you guys, I think. We record the streams now. So I can upload this
The clean one.
video
Yeah.
as it was recorded, not as it was streamed.
Ah,
You didn't miss anything. All right, now, if you're noticing that the video is choppy or stuttery, hit refresh on your browser, because I'm showing it's going out perfectly. It's not getting any more drop frames. All right, we can wait a minute for everybody to catch up. We're in no hurry today, and we'll make sure our stream is solid. It's finding I'm having trouble with my streams the older I get.
happens to all of us, yeah.
All right, everybody says it looks good now. So we're talking about the front panel header. And that's going to be your power switch, your reset switch, your power LED, and your hard drive LED. Each one is 2 pins. The positive and negative only matter on LEDs. If you were to get the positive and negative reversed, the LED simply will not work. It won't hurt anything. When you get around to turning it around the other way and plugging it in correctly, the LED will work as it should. Switches don't have positive or negative. They might be labeled, but you don't have to, it doesn't matter. The pins will always go horizontally. If you're putting your pins, this means horizontal, this way. This would be vertical. We never connect 2 rows of pins together. Never ever connect 2 rows of pins. We're always staying on 1 row at a time, the top row or the bottom row. Unless you have a wonky, weird motherboard, the manual says otherwise, you generally will be on the bottom row only or on the top row only. Most consumer motherboards, I'd say 99.9% of them, your hard drive LED and your reset switch will be on the bottom row. Your power LED and your power switch will be on the top row. The power switch will be located directly above the reset switch. Your power LED will be located directly above the hard drive LED. The positive side of the LED, light emitting diode. Diode only allows electricity to flow one way. So if you put it on backwards, it's just a big barrier. Doesn't hurt anything, just the LED will not light. So positive end of the LED, usually it's labeled positive on the connector, always goes towards the pin at the far side, at the end of the row. So power LED, positive cable will go on the top row with the positive on the first pin. The hard drive LED will go on the bottom row with the positive side of it going on the first pin of the bottom row. It's really simple. If you locate your power switch at a different set of pins, it likely won't hurt anything. Just power switch won't work. And same is true with the reset switch. So there's not a lot of danger. You shouldn't have any anxiety over this. It is very simple. Many cases today aren't even coming with hard drive LEDs or reset switches. So in a lot of cases, you have to only plug in a power switch, and that might be it. Maybe a power LED and a power switch. Depends on the case that you buy. But NZXT does something really cool. NZXT gives you a connector for the front panel switches and LEDs where it's already aligned and all you have to do is push it down.
Those are nice. Yeah.
And so unless you have a motherboard that's wonky and doesn't fit the standard that the industry has adopted, then they often will include, with the case, they'll include a little connector that goes on and breaks the wires out into the individuals. But I wish all the chassis manufacturers would do what NZXT does. And we'll get to that part. But if you look in the drawer, I've got an external power switch that I use when I'm working on a system out of the bench. You should see a big clear one in there, Mitch. That's the one. And I get these off Amazon. And all this is a power LED and a hard drive LED and a power switch and a reset switch. And it terminates exactly the same way the cables in your case will terminate. And what I did is I took this connector, this is called a G connector, some gigabyte motherboards include them, and I've just made my own little connector so I don't have to put them on individually. I can just take this, and knowing where the cables go, can I see my glasses? Because I can't see so good.
Plus, Winston Lou wants you to check your PayPal.
Oh,
So I'll
okay,
have to
we'll
give
check
you-
that here in a minute. Right down here, turn this way. Right down here,
Yep.
I'll tell you what, let me grab the close-up camera
Okay.
because this is an ideal opportunity to show this in close-up detail.
Okay, camera one eyeball,
Yeah, hit that camera one eyeball
Now?
for me.
No.
Yep,
you're on.
okay. So aside from the motherboard manual and aside from going online and pulling up the manual online, you can just look at the writing on any motherboard. The connector, it'll be written what that connector does. So what this tells us is this top row of pins, see there's 2 rows, top row and a bottom row. The writing is in 2 rows. There's a top row of writing and a bottom row of writing.
Mhm.
So that tells us that the power LED is on the top row because it's written on the top. The hard drive LED is at the bottom row because it's written below, and it's got a little positive sign that's pointing on the top row to the first pin and on the bottom row to the first pin. Then it says power button, and it says reset. And interestingly, it shows the reset as being off one pin, but it should follow the standard, which is how I'm able to just get one of these connectors. Sometimes this row of pins can be even longer when it has speaker connectors. And all I have to do is make sure that these cables connect to that edge. You'll see where it says hard drive LED. Right on the connector it says hard drive LED with a positive and a negative. And we want to make sure that's on those first two pins. And so when I seat this down, I've just plugged in all 4 cables to our switch. It's really simple stuff. It's really super simple. Just handle it one cable at a time, or if you're lucky enough and you have an NZXT case, it's just one connector that fits right on, and it's compatible with 99% of the motherboards, probably 99.9% of the motherboards.
Okay.
And I just let the rest of that hang off because we don't have any cables on that side anyway.
Yep.
But just in case there was more pins across here, this wouldn't sit down if the pins were blocking it, so that's why I have it drilled through so that way it can sit over the pins without damaging them and it doesn't make any contact with anything. And that's just a little cheat that I use to make my life easier. All right, let me go back to camera 1 there, Mitch, if you don't mind. Thank you. And that should clear up any confusion. It's pretty simple stuff. And again, you're not going to damage anything. It's just that the switches or lights won't work if you plug them in incorrectly. Let's take this and move this. What do we want to do? Turn this way. And I'll put this, we'll put this over here, I guess. What a mess. Look at all the I/O we have on the LiveMixer board here. Is this just some plastic on here? What is this? I don't know what that's for. Got HDMI out, display port out, 2 USB 2s, a USB 3, a USB 3 Type-C, 4 more USB, these may not be 2s, these might all be 3s, I don't know. These are Ultra USB power, this is if you're charging up things. These yellow or orange USBs are Lightning Gaming, whatever that is. We have another USB Type-C, another USB port. We have 2.5 gig LAN. We've got an SPDIF optical audio connection, speaker output, and microphone input. That's a lot of I/O. There's a place for antennas to go if you wanted to put the laptop style M.2 Wi-Fi and then run cables to the wires. And then this connector right here is for ASRock's little screen that I demonstrated on the last build we did featuring this motherboard. I used the screens. So I'm going to grab the power cable, make sure the switch is in the off position. I don't want it to turn on as a surprise. This is a 0 RPM fan mode switch. If I push this in, it turns that off. And what that means is the fan will just run all the time. If I press it and so it's in the out position, that means 0 RPM fan mode is on. That means the fan will only turn on when the power supply feels it's hot enough that it needs a little air, just like the fan on your CPU and the fan on your video card. If you have a video card, maybe you notice the fans don't always turn. It only turns when it needs to turn. That keeps the noise down, keeps the energy usage down. I'm going to go ahead and flip that switch over to on, and I want you to grab that power cable switch thingy. That's what we're going to call it.
Okay.
Now, because we've added power to the power supply, and the power supply is plugged into the motherboard, there's some RGB under the board that's lighting up. And that's because even though the system is off, you can see the fan is not spinning. It always has power running through it. That's why you never work on a computer that's plugged in. Switching it off at the power supply is not good enough. You can still be you are still earth grounded, and if there was a major short circuit, you could be seriously injured or die. So I don't play around with that. I unplug a system anytime I'm working on it. since we're ready to power it up and we're clear, no metal is touching it, we're on a cardboard anti-static, anti-conductive surface, all I have to do is turn on, I have to do two things. I have to plug an HDMI cable into it, which I have right here. We're going to use onboard video for today's build, but you could add a video card of your choice, NVIDIA or AMD.
Keyboard and a mouse for later.
So HDMI cable. I will need a keyboard and a mouse. Yes, Mitch, good thinking. So I keep that back here. And these are wireless. They have a little off switch. I always keep them off to save batteries. Here's a little magnetic dongle that the keyboard and mouse will share, this one dongle. And I'll just plug it into literally any of these USB ports will work fine. I'll just put it right there. Okay, and
You put us in the corner.
yeah, I'm gonna put camera 1 and shrink it over to the side. And we'll turn HDMI input on.
Larry says, hey, Mitch, I'm jamming Toto. Well, good.
Mitch approves.
Africa, Hosanna, and hold the line.
Okay, are you ready?
Blue or red?
The blue one, I think.
All right, Chad.
Doesn't it say underneath? Doesn't it say power? It'll say like P LED and
Yeah.
H LED, so power LED.
Yeah, PL. You ready? Chad, smoke test. Here we go.
I see the fan turning. I see the light on. Now, our very first boot up can be a little nerve-wracking because it's got to train the RAM and train the CPU. It has no idea what we've put in it. We could put any number of CPUs and any amount and brand of RAM. So the very first time it turns on, it's kind of like, it's like if you woke up from a coma. What's the first thing people do? They look around and they realize,
Where am I?
yeah, and that's what it's doing right now. Once it's done that, it'll test its settings, and we'll get the power on self-test or post-screen.
You think this will be an old BIOS or a new one?
I think it's going to be old.
Oh, do you think?
Yeah, because I think they recently released a BIOS. Now this shows, looking at the data on the screen, it shows our CPU, the Core i5 13500. It says LiveMixer 2.02. And for BIOS version, I'll tell you what, let's get rid of camera 1. They don't need to look at us. And then I'll make the screen full screen for you and me so we can see it as good as the folks at home can.
Okay.
And BIOS version, where is it?
Under advanced mode?
I would think that, is it the 2.02 is our BIOS version?
I guess so, yeah.
I don't see where ASRock has moved it to. This is obviously not a liquid cooler that we've put in.
Right.
It's air cooling. It sees our CPU fan. Let's go to advanced mode. This should have our BIOS version right here. Yeah, it says UEFI version 2.02.
Okay.
Right now, we're idling at 2.5 gigahertz, 2,500 megahertz, but the CPU will rank up faster than that when we need it to. Now, of course, our date and time are off. It was set to the date and time likely in Taiwan or something. It's probably like 12 hours off or something. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go back to OBS, and I'm going to open up a tab, and then I will turn window capture on. And we're going to just search for a BIOS, and it's just going to be ASRock LiveMixer Z790, because they do make an AMD version of the LiveMixer board that's orange and red, and BIOS. And you'll see the very first link takes us to ASRock.com
Okay.
for the Z790 LiveMixer. That's going to take us to the product page for this motherboard, and we're going to go over to support. Now, I don't want the support up here.
Right.
That's ASRock support. I want Z790 LiveMixer specifically support for this product. That's what the support down here is for. And then I want to go to BIOS, and I want to see what the latest version is. Now it said we had 2.02, so we should see a version of 2.02, what we currently have, and it's right there. So there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 BIOSes released.
Okay.
We don't need to install anything but the latest BIOS, unless it tells you you must have something as a prerequisite.
Okay.
The assumption is no prerequisite is required. So I'll hit global, and we're going to download that file. And I need a flash drive.
I still like the motherboards where you can do that via the Ethernet. You know,
ASRock used to do that, or maybe
which
they.
is very convenient. You know, it's the thing where you just go on, and if your Ethernet's plugged in, you go and.
Yeah, but I've had it where it gives me a BIOS, but it's not the latest one.
Oh,
and you wouldn't know.
Mhm.
So I'm going to go ahead and copy. Well, people aren't going to be able to see this part, but I've downloaded the zip file that contains the BIOS, and I've extracted the BIOS. And so now we can go back over to camera 1. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this into the streaming computer over here, because this is where I've downloaded it. And this is ideal to do before we install our operating system. It's, you know, look, if you've already installed your operating system, you can still upgrade the BIOS. It's just, I prefer to do the BIOS first, just in case there's a change in how the BIOS, how the operating system auto-detects drivers and things, which the BIOS, UEFI BIOS can have an impact on that. So I'm just going to paste that BIOS file, which is just a file called Z790 LiveMixer 9.03.rom. Once I've done that, I'm going to extract, or safely disconnect, I suppose, the flash drive. And you just want to use a cheap flash drive for this, preferably something very small, 16 gigs or less, formatted in FAT32.
You can give it to me, I'll put it in.
The older the motherboard is,
Mm-hmm.
the more sensitive it's going to be to being unable to see large file size, large partition sizes, and like NTFS file system. And you can literally put that into any USB port, Mitch. Perfect. All right. Now, let's go back over to our HDMI input. And we'll turn off the window capture, and we're going to turn off camera 1, just so you get the whole picture. And then I'll go full screen so Mitch and I can see it the same way you guys at home are seeing it. Now, we should not have to reboot. We've already given it, 40 seconds it's been plugged in, so that's plenty of time for it to auto-detect. And I'm going to go up here to Tool, and under Instant Flash, we'll give that a clicky. It lets us say, hey, please suspect, if you're using BitLocker, please suspend it. We're not using BitLocker. We haven't even formatted and partitioned our drive yet. Do you want to continue? Yes. Okay, it automatically found the flash file. We didn't have to point it. It just, the only readable media on this computer right now is that flash drive. I'll click Update. It says, are you sure you want to update? Click Yes. And now this is hands off. Oh, not yet. It says, after pressing Enter, the system will automatically reboot. Please wait for a few seconds and the BIOS will continue, okay? Okay. Now, we're going to see this big no signal written on the screen, and that's because the system is powered off. Now the system is powering back on, and it's begun initializing the process required for flashing the BIOS. This is hands off. Please do not touch the keyboard or the mouse. Do not power the system off. If you're one of those people that can't sit still, leave the room. Pay attention to what time it is. Come back in 5 minutes and it should be done. Probably shouldn't take all of 5 minutes, but if you're of that personality, I want to make sure. Otherwise, sit back and enjoy the show. The system is automatically doing what it needs to do, and it will let you know when it's done. Until it does, please do not interrupt it, disrupt it, or interfere.
And you've never had a power failure while this was, while you were
No.
doing a BIOS ever?
Nope, never ever.
I mean, the old days, it claimed it would brick the board, but now I think you could probably, if this power went off, is the board bricked? I mean,
Most likely. Just depends on where it was in the process. You definitely don't want to lose power. If you live in an area where you lose power regularly, you would want this plugged into an uninterruptible power supply, and then if you did lose power, it wouldn't infect you. So, no touchy. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah, we have individuals in the chat room who say unpleasant things. I don't know why.
But this.
I have a physical feature that's very obvious. Would you please point it out to everybody? Let's bring it up for discussion. That's not rude. That's what you would do in person, right?
And
Yeah.
this has only been,
They
this is
think
only,
they're being funny.
this has only been a minute, you know,
Yeah.
so.
So when are you leaving for Vietnam?
Monday, September 4th,
So about, what, 2 weeks from now, huh?
something like that. I've got a flight from Phoenix to LAX that leaves at 5:30 a.m., which means I've got to have a taxi pick me up at about 3:15.
Yikes.
And then when I land 5:30, say to 6:30 in LA, I've got about a 5-hour wait. But I'll go into the American Airlines lounge because they offer actually shower facilities and things like that. So
That'll keep you occupied?
yeah, and
So we
Wi-Fi.
just interrupt for a second. The no signal means the system is cycling power on its own. It's normal. No signal means just that there's no video signal being put out by the motherboard. Again, hands off, leave it alone. This is what it's supposed to do. It will come back when it's ready. We're keeping this on the screen to simulate, well, not simulate. This is all happening in real life and in real time. This is live and unscripted. I want you to know exactly what to expect if you want to follow this BIOS update procedure.
And there it is.
Is it done already?
9.03.
Yeah, you're right. It does say 9.03. That didn't take very long at all, did it? But you notice it changed our cooler type back to liquid cooler again. It's really
Yeah.
wants us to be on a liquid cooler. We have air cooling.
Yes.
And we can probably turn XMP on.
Okay.
And this tells us what storage we've got plugged in. M2-1, M2-2, M2-3, M2-4. M2-5 is not necessarily your Gen 5 M.2. That's what your documentation is for. Up here for if we wanted to turn on XMP, or what do they call it now? I guess it's still called XMP. We can go over to advanced mode
Okay.
and overclocking tweaker, DRAM configuration, DRAM frequency, and you can manually set it, but there should be an auto somewhere in here.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we want that.
Okay.
And we will exit, save changes and exit. These are the changes we've made, yes? And it's got nothing to boot to. So when this computer restarts, it's probably going to take us right back into the BIOS. The flash drive is not bootable. And the storage media we put on there has not been partitioned or formatted yet. This seems like an ideal system for Windows 11. I mean, we could put Windows 10 on it.
And it's okay to pull that flash drive out?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But for right now, I want to wait till the screen comes back up before I do, just because I'm funny that way. When this comes up, it'll realize there's nothing to boot from,
And
it'll
go
just
right
take
back.
us right back in the BIOS again. Okay, so now we can go back over to camera 1. And if you would, yeah, here's our Windows 11 media.
I can
Take
say
that one out, yeah.
But this you want in a 3, in a, yeah.
Yeah, put it in one of the brightly colored slots, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, it only goes in one of two ways. That's why it takes 3 different attempts to get the
Yeah.
USB in there. So now that Mitch has plugged that in, thank you, Mitch. Let me go back to full screen for us over here. And we are going to press Control-Alt-Delete. And now the only thing the system has to boot from is that bootable Windows 11 media. And I've got a video that shows you how to make that from Microsoft for free. It does cost money to activate it. But you can save money and buy a Windows 10 Pro key over at VIP CDK deals. Someone asked me a funny question the other day. They said, hey, those VIP CDK deals, are those legal and legit keys, or are they gray market? Gray market is legal and legit. So it's like, hey, you want to make a bet? Heads I win, tails you lose?
Can I do this, huh? Can I?
Yeah,
Is it this mouse?
it is.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if Mitch knows the routine. We always install Windows 10 and 11 exactly the same way on every build and every repair.
Next. Install now.
Yep.
And this should load screamingly fast, right, with a Gen 5?
Yeah.
I don't have a product key.
So since you don't have a product key during the install, it's going to load a trial, but it wants to know the trial of what? Windows 10 Home, Windows 10 Pro,
What are we
Windows
loading?
11 Home, Windows.
What are we
We're going to
loading?
do Windows 11 Pro is the key we're going to buy later.
Okay.
And if we buy a Windows Pro key and install Windows Home, the key won't work. So you got to make sure you're buying the right key and installing the right version. You got to accept the end user license agreement. Click on custom. We always click custom. And it's going to look at possible places to install. Now, if you're installing multiple drives, if you've got a computer with 5 hard drives, please make your life easy. Don't plug in the 5 drives. Just plug in the drive you want to install Windows on, or you're going to have to figure out which one's which here. So when you're building a new computer with multiple storage drives, only hook up your first storage drive. If we had multiple M.2s, we would not install any of the other M.2s until after we install Windows. This makes life easy. The only drive it sees is the only drive we have, so there's no mistake of installing it in the wrong drive if we're going to have multiple drives, and there's no benefit to installing the multiple drives at this point because we can't use them anyway, not yet. So it's already selected the only drive we've got, that's 1800 gigabytes, that's 2 terabytes. So click next, and we're off to the races. Now, if you want to start your stopwatch or take a look at the time below the video, you can measure just how long it's going to take for this Windows 11 to partition, format, and install the operating system.
So then once you were to do this with the Windows setup, then let's say you were to go and plug in 3 more NVMe drives, and then you
I would do one at a time. I would shut the computer
So
off.
you don't recommend putting 3 in.
Well,
and
then you won't be able to
refine-
control the drive letters. Then you'd have to go into the control panel
and change it.
and
though,
change
so-
it. But if you install them one at a time,
time,
each one will get the next drive letter. So then it'll be drive D,
D,
drive E,
E.
drive F.
Right.
And then if you have any problems, you don't know which of the 3 is
are-
causing it. You'll
right.
know immediately it was the thing you just did.
Right.
It's really not a big deal to, I mean, look, I'm not telling you how to do it. I don't care. I really don't care. You could stick a gum in there for all I care. I'm giving you some advice from 30 years in the business to keep your life easy. But not everybody wants that. So don't let me get in your way. If you know better than me, do it however you want to. But the way I do it is I will install 1 drive at a time.
And
I will
reboot.
shut the computer
Yeah,
off
reboot
if
it.
everything's good. I want drive D installed next, drive E installed after that. Otherwise, you don't know what drive letter is going to get assigned to which drive, and then you'll have to go in the control panel and manually adjust them.
Would you, as you install each one of the drives and it gets assigned a letter, before putting the next one in, would you do a quick format, or that doesn't really matter, of the drive, the new one that you put in?
Well, if I put a brand new drive in that's not partitioned or formatted, how do I know if it's working? How do I know that I've installed it correctly?
Right.
So, yeah, if it's a brand new drive, after I've installed it, turn the machine on, it won't be assigned a drive letter until you've partitioned and formatted.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, it's invisible to the system.
Okay.
So then I'm talking about if you had drives you're carrying over,
information.
right? They're already partitioned and formatted. They're going to automatically be assigned a drive letter when you plug them in. If you plug in 2 or more and then turn the system on, you don't know which one's going
Right.
to get which letter. And Murphy's Law says it's going to be the opposite of the way you wanted it. And you could have controlled that by just doing one at a time. So if it's a brand new drive, you plug it in, turn the system on, create your partition, format it, it gets a drive letter. Everything looks good, shut it down, and repeat as necessary. If it's not showing up correctly, well, resolve that before you install the next drive. Keeps your life so much easier.
Yep.
Doesn't make sense to do it any other way. But that doesn't mean you have to do it in a way that makes sense. It's just the way I do it.
That didn't take long to load that up. Now we'll,
Yeah, we're going to do our second reboot here. And let's take a look. I was supposed to check my email, right? Isn't that what they said?
for
Well,
Winston Lou. While you're doing that.
$25.99 sent via PayPal from Winston Lou.
Hey.
Right on. Thank you, Winston. Is viewer-supported media. All right, so our region is the United States. So we click yes. And our keyboard layout is a United States keyboard layout. We don't have a secondary keyboard layout, so we skip that. Now it wants to connect us to a network, and it forces us to do this. So in order to bypass this, we have to hit Shift F10 on the keyboard. Hold down Shift and press F10, and a control box will open, or a command box. Click once on the box so that we can type inside of it. So you have to click inside of the box one time, and you'll see the border of the box changes color. Now we're in focus. Now type in OOBE, that stands for Out of Box Experience.
OOBE. Is it
Backslash.
backslash?
That looks like a forward. Is that a backslash? That's a forward slash.
Is it?
Yeah, the one under the question mark is a forward. We want to go the other way. It's going to be on the right side of the keyboard.
Oh, this one?
Mm-hmm. That's a backslash. Then type in bypass.
With a Y or no? B-I?
B-Y. Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
Didn't think about it.
P-A-S-S.
And then N-R-O. N like Nancy, R like Robert, O as in
Oscar.
orange, Oscar, and press enter. That's going to execute a registry entry, and it will reboot, and we'll have to go through those same questions, the keyboard layout and all that one more time. Only this time when it wants us to connect to a network, the option I don't have a network connection will be available. Now, that's because of how I've created my install media, and I could modify that. I just can't be bothered, to be honest. If I was installing this 10 times a day, that'd be a different story. So one more time.
I'm sticking with my Windows 10 because
That's your final answer?
Because I'm stubborn. Yeah, I got 2 years.
Yeah, Windows 10 won't do that.
Who says I'll even be around in 2 years? I'm old. All right, let's see.
Who says you're going to be around later tonight?
Yeah, you.
Don't start reading any thick books.
Yeah, skip.
Now you see it says I don't have internet down there. You're going to have to tell it twice. There's the first time, there's the second time.
User.
With a capital U, please. I'm a stickler with that stuff. Enter. Just
Enter.
keep the password blank by pressing enter. And then you know what I do here, right?
Indubitably. No. No. Scroll down.
We keep location settings on. That'll automatically fix our date and time issue. And it'll always keep it updated as the clock naturally loses seconds anyway. And then accept. Now it's going to finalize everything here. And that's our Windows 11 install. Beyond that, we install drivers. And we can then install the motherboard into the case with a power supply. A little cable management. And if everything's working, I'll go to VIP CDK deals. I'll buy a Windows 10 Pro key, and I will use that Windows 10 Pro key as if it were a Windows 11 Pro key. And Windows 11 can't tell the difference between a Windows 10 Pro and a Windows 11 Pro key. It can't see the difference.
But your wallet will see the difference.
Yeah, a Windows 11 Pro key costs more. And I could use that to activate Windows 10 still. I can use it to activate Windows 10 once, and I can use it to activate Windows 11 once.
Shazam.
No one said they had to be on, well, they do say they have to be on the same system, but there's no way to enforce that. It just means that the other system won't be eligible for the free upgrade since you're using it, we're using it on this system. It'll get denied. Let me take a look in the chat room, see what people are saying in here.
And just like that, there's our home screen for a Windows 11. Yuck. I mean, great.
Now, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes Windows will auto-detect your network card and automatically load the driver. But this is a 2.5 gig networking card, and that driver may not be auto-detected by Windows. So the next thing I want to do here is just simply, I mean, I can look in the device manager. We're going to have a bunch of stuff that's missing drivers. But if I at least get it on the network, Windows Update may fill in some of those drivers for us.
Yeah.
So I'll give that back to you, and then I'm going to grab my network connection, and we're going to plug that in right here into our 2.5 gig. And I'm going to look at that bottom right corner of our screen, and you see a little globe there. And I want that globe to turn into a little monitor.
Okay.
Now, it seemed like it detected our Wi-Fi just fine, and if I wanted to put it on Wi-Fi, I could just do that and get drivers that way. I can manually go to the ASRock website, download the network card drivers from ASRock onto a flash drive on another computer and install them. Or, if I'm going to be super smart, I can get a little USB to Ethernet adapter where the drivers are built into Windows and just use this temporarily. So all I have to do is plug my little $10 USB to gigabit Ethernet, and I'll plug it in, I don't know, let's plug it in right here, I suppose. And I'll take my internet cable and I'll plug it in here. And I want to see that little globe in the bottom right corner, right down there, become a little square monitor. So it's going to take a minute for the system to auto-recognize this cable. Windows loads the driver for it. And look, ASRock's auto driver installer pops up.
Isn't that amazing?
So now ASRock says we can provide the drivers so you don't have to rely on Windows Update. Wouldn't you rather get them from us, the people who make the board? Why, yes, I would. Thank you for asking. So what I'm going to do is I need to go full screen over here because Mitch and I are looking at a window in a window. And I'm going to just click on yes. Accept the license agreement and continue. And it's going to communicate now with ASRock servers on the internet. And it should present us with, you know, it doesn't know who we are or what product we're using. So it's transmitting that information to them now.
I'll tell you, that CPU fan is just whisper quiet.
Isn't it?
It just,
And our
yeah.
power supply fan is,
Yeah.
is just, well, we don't have any of the noise suppression turned on today, so people should hear that air conditioning. They should be hearing everything as we hear it. Look at that. Sometimes some manufacturers will throw things like Norton McAfee in here, but it looks like ASRock's playing it straight. We've got an INF driver for the chipset. We've got a VGA driver for this onboard GPU. We've got an HD audio driver. And we have a management engine driver. They're all checked by
Okay.
default. I wish I could read that. Just hit the word update. During installation, your system may reboot and continue installing. Yep. And it's off to the races. And then when it's done installing the drivers, then I'll go to Windows Update and we'll get all of our Windows updates. And if everything looks good, then I can invest the money to buy the product key to activate it. But it'll run indefinitely in trial mode. After a few days, we'll get a little watermark down on the corner that says, please activate Windows. But aside from some customizations of changing your wallpaper or some desktop icons, it doesn't limit your ability to use Windows. It's just annoying. And I had to buy a product key last night. It cost me $16.20 for a Windows 10 Pro product key at VIP CDK deals using the coupon code CAREY for an additional 30% off. You can't beat that. I mean, come on. I can't eat at Arby's for $16.
David Martinez, hi Carey and Mitch, I just retired. Well, congrats. I've been retired 10 years. I hate to say it, yeah. 10 years.
I don't think I'll ever retire.
No, it's...
I gotta have something to do.
Yeah, it isn't as great as I thought.
I need a reason to
Yeah,
get out of bed in the morning.
It wasn't as great as I thought it was gonna be honest. Except the traveling, yeah.
Let's see, what are we missing in the chat room here? Boz Peter says, hello all, long time I've been watching, long time I've been at a live viewing. Well, glad to have you here.
On this Freaky Friday.
Pete, the virtual trucker, says, good morning all from Perth, Australia at 6:25 a.m. G'day.
Gotta get down there, gotta get down there. People are already asking me, Carey, so where are you going next summer? You know, because you do a trip every summer. I'm like, it's too far. I don't know. You know, India, Australia, South America. I'm like, Africa? I don't know. Toto, Africa.
Have you been to Japan?
Yes.
Have you been to South Korea?
No. But I've been to North Korea. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd still be there.
Yeah, they cloned me, so this isn't the real Mitch, all right?
Adam says hello from Pakistan.
Ah.
Pakistan. Sergio says, Mitch, come to Portugal.
I've watched a lot of YouTube's videos on India. It looks beautiful.
On India, he said Portugal.
I know. But Adam says hello from Pakistan, so that's in India, right?
No,
No?
it's attached,
Ah.
but it's not in it.
Yeah,
It's its own.
yeah.
It's its own place, just like Mexico and the United States
Yeah.
are kind of part of the same landmass.
Yeah.
You know, what was that joke I heard the guy say the other day? They don't make anything in America anymore. I bought a TV the other day, and it said built-in antenna. I'll be honest, I don't know where that is.
Yeah. Spain is nice. Yeah, my brothers and sisters all went.
Oh, Spain and Portugal are right there,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. My brothers and sisters all went to Barcelona one year and wanted to talk me into it. Mitch, come to California.
Yeah, he was just there.
I lived 4 years. And I'm going to go on before my trip. I think on September 1st, I got to drive out to L.A. Beverly Hills to see my third favorite band, Mr. Gino Vanelli from the 70s. He had a song called "I Just Want to Stop."
Oh, I know that song.
And beautiful voice. Normally I get a front row.
Thank you, baby.
Yeah, normally I get a front row, but I don't know. For some reason, they were already snagged right when I went on. So
Damn old people are so quick.
I went on. Got the second row. So.
Pakistan and India were separated about 76 years ago.
Mm.
That was almost your whole life ago.
Oh.
Viper says it's time for another corny joke, Mitch.
I'm fresh out. Let's see. Except one that I've already used about why don't oysters give up their pearls? Because they're shellfish.
Of course.
And now I'm out. I'm fresh.
That's all you got?
Yeah, that's all. Boy, this takes a long time. Or what did
Well,
what did
the
you-
internet here is pretty slow.
Okay. Yeah.
Zanzibar.
I mean, the only thing
Yeah,
about
there used to be Persia.
yeah. The only thing about Australia is they speak English. You know, these other countries I go to, I gotta have a voice translator, you know, Google Translate a lot and stuff, which is why, you know, I hire someone to take me around every day who speaks good English.
Yeah.
So that way I don't.
Well, you made a friend that way, though, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Find a local that'll show you around.
Yeah.
Enjoy each other's company and
Yeah.
get to share the trip with somebody.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with
Then
that.
I never get ripped off by cab drivers or restaurants because
Step in a little bit.
they speak that
When they see an American
English.
tourist, they think you're loaded.
yeah.
You can part with it as far as they're concerned.
Yeah.
You got more than you can use.
Is this a time delay on that? Is that why you're seeing?
Yes.
It? Yeah.
Mhm.
Like by 10 minutes or not?
But does,
Oh.
yeah, even if you look at, when we look at YouTube Studio, look how far behind it is.
Oh.
It's still booting from the, so if I
Gotcha.
hit refresh,
Yeah.
then it should bring us current. Once that loads, we should be right now current.
Mm.
I don't know how that's happening, but it's been happening for some time. And then over here on the tablet, this does the same thing. It doesn't,
Yeah.
it's not as drastic, it's not as far behind, but you can, I think, do we just hold the finger down? No. How do I refresh on the tablet? I think we can just go back, close the video. That's one way to do it the hard way. Close the video out. It's not letting me close it. And now that should be current.
Ah.
What camera are you using? The picture is not as bright. Well, the picture's not as bright because the camera has to be zoomed further out because Mitch is so much taller than I am. And so as a result, the room's gonna look a little darker. When we
When it's
draw
not
the
just
zoom
you.
the camera in, it's gonna look like it normally does. So, yeah.
So
We haven't made any changes to the camera apart from the zoom. That's all that's changed.
you need some help with the Toto thing, Mr. Morrison. Can I help it that I'm their biggest fan? I've only seen them 57 times, so I mean,
A shirt for each time, huh?
yeah, that's right.
We have 382 people watching worldwide live right now. We've got 201 likes. If you like the video, please hit the thumbs up. That helps us out. And it says there's 389 concurrent viewers. It says 379 there and 389. Which one is right?
Well, speaking of the Toto thing, Chad, I do a thing, I think I told you guys once, where in bars, there's a jukebox called Touch Tunes, where you can add credits on your phone and you can, you know, play the songs that you like in the bar. So I, you know, what I do in the 2 or 3 local watering holes that I go to is I'm outside wearing a Toto shirt, and then I put Touch Tunes, and then I put on Toto Africa, and so right as the song starts, I come through the door wearing a Toto shirt, and Thursday night I went to the bar and there were like 5 guys that kind of, you know, all, the second they hear the song and the door opens up, they're all, you know, and I'm like, boys, how's it
He's
going?
got his own introduction music.
And one time a guy was doing that doesn't know me, and he heard the song. I came through the door wearing a Toto shirt, and he kind of looked at the shirt and the song, and he's like, I think I'm in the Twilight Zone. What are the odds of that happening? I'm like, oh yeah, it's incredible. It's like, you did that, didn't you? And I'm like, you gotta have entrance music, so.
What does that say? Right click, full screen. Installation has been successfully completed. For further drivers and utilities, please enter BIOS setting. Please enter BIOS setup manual to enable auto driver installer function. All right, that's fine. That's fine. See this little cartoon down here?
Yeah, don't like it.
The way to get rid of that, I just type in the word search.
Get rid of.
I type in the word search, and then I start typing permissions, P-E-R. Oh, I gotta have a space between them, 2 words. Search space, P-E-R. P-E-R. See, I gotta spell correctly though. S-E-A-R. C-H P-E, right there, search permissions and history.
Okay.
That's what I want. Just hit enter. Scroll all the way down, and right here it says under more settings, show search highlights. When I click this to off, you're gonna see that little cartoony thing go away. And away it goes. And then we can go over to Windows Update since we're in the settings area, check for updates, and we'll turn automatic updates on. We'll also go to advanced options, and we will turn on to receive updates for other Microsoft products. And keep me up to date, and let me know when it needs to reboot. You can also look under optional updates. It shows there's 2 available, Realtek and Intel Display. Go ahead, download and install, and it'll add that to the stack of other Windows 11 updates.
Starshine says, Mitch, do Eye of the Tiger and wear boxing gloves. I actually, the band Survivor, Eye of the Tiger, is on my workout playlist. Because, yeah, that always kind of gets me going to hear that song. So,
Winston Liu contributes 5 Canadian dollars. Carey, please check your PayPal. You want me to check it again? We already did this, Winston. I guess you missed it, but we'll do it a second time. Winston sent $25.99 via PayPal. So one more time, Winston, thank you again.
Sure.
I appreciate all the support, you guys. Like I said, it's viewer-sponsored content here. You guys are the sponsors. So thank you. Of course, Winston might not be watching the latest. He could be behind, too. He may not even hear me say it the first time for another 20 minutes.
and you've got the DVR thing all set up? No
If I
problem?
didn't, we wouldn't have this problem,
Oh,
this potential problem.
now that fan is what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah,
What am I hearing?
so now the CPU is having to work, and as it's cranking up its frequency, it's consuming more power, it's generating more heat,
To get
and
all
the
the-
fan is speeding up
To get all those updates, yeah.
yeah, because the updates are processing
Mhm.
files on the operating system.
I thought it was my tinnitus. I mean, tonight.
Tinnitus?
Yeah.
I heard another medical term that was pronounced wonky. What was it? Because, you know, tinnitus is usually how I've always heard it
Yeah.
pronounced. Well, that's going to bug me now. Somebody said something that's pretty, I thought it was only said one way until this person on a YouTube video said this word I didn't know, and then I realized they're just pronouncing it differently. Now I can't think of what it is. And then I Googled it, because now I was like, well, which way is the right one? Apparently either way is acceptable.
Yeah, it's pronounced colonoscopy, not colonoscopy.
Have you met Colin?
No. And on Monday, I go to a place in Scottsdale called Travel Bug, and I go in there, tell them that, you know, the countries that I'm going to, and then they tell me the shots that I should
Oh.
that I should get. So I think
Inoculate yourself from what's going on
because
over there?
because I told them I was going to Vietnam last year and ended up not going. I think I got all the shots, the hepatitis A, B, and this and that. So really, the only one that I need is for dengue fever, so that you don't get malaria is the thing. So
Oh.
that's, you know, but that's, I'm like, how can a shot, you know, one little shot be $120 or whatever? But I'm gonna pay, because once you
How
get
much would it be worth
yeah, well, once you
for
get
you to
yeah.
develop it yourself?
Yeah. Once you get malaria, doesn't, you know, you can't take anything. You have that for life. And so I'm like, yeah, just give me the shot.
Yeah, and then once you have it, every mosquito that takes your blood then has it, and the next
Yeah.
person they
Yeah.
bite gets it.
So,
And around it goes.
yeah.
All right, well, we're still downloading some drivers and updates here. If you guys have questions in the chat room, this will be a good time to ask while we're waiting for the updates. After this round of updates, we'll check one more. There might be like one more round. After that, everything's checking out good, so we're clear to disconnect the power supply and the front panel switch, unplug everything, and, from the, the HDMI port, the internet port. And we can bring the case up here, install the motherboard and the power supply into the case, cable it up, and aside from some cable management and activating Windows, we're done. The system will be available for sale at cost. So if somebody was interested in making a purchase in the United States, that's all handled privately. We don't discuss business, money matters on a live video for obvious reasons. But if you want to reach out privately to find out, you can easily add these parts into your shopping cart. You don't have to purchase them just to see what they add up to. But it's about an $800, well, minus that really fast Gen 5 drive, which we have to check.
And why did you pick the case? Just because
I really like the NZXT cases for all the reasons I mentioned. They have that single connector for the front port umbilicals. Cable management tracks are super easy to cable manage in.
Okay.
It's easy to work in. It's built solidly. It's under $100.
You get a front fan and a rear fan?
You get a rear fan only.
Only?
They do have a version, an RGB version, that comes with 3 fans up front. You can add fans up front, but the front of it, it's like an $80 case. The front of it doesn't have any fans. And as long as we don't put a discrete graphics card, we don't need a front fan. It's just that they put it on the RGB version to add lights, not really to add cooling. But I've been very, very happy with the build quality, how easy they are to work in, how easy they are to cable manage, the price, availability. It's checking all my boxes. So again, it's the NZXT H5 Flow is the case we're using.
That must have been this display.
Yeah, that's it.
driver.
When you see the screen blank out like that, it basically has to stop the display driver to replace the display. It's like you have to stop a car to replace a flat tire. It's kind of like that. So the screen goes blank to deactivate its current driver. When the driver's deactivated, it can be replaced with the updated driver. And once it's replaced, then it can activate the updated driver and initiate it, and then your video comes back.
And while we're waiting here in chat, if anybody in chat has visited the lovely country of Vietnam and has any suggestions, again, I land in Saigon, which is now called Ho Chi Minh City. I'm going to go to the North Vietnam, Hanoi, because then you take a bus to Ha Long Bay, and then you take a 2-day on a beautiful boat with my own room and shower and everything, but through this Ha Long Bay, which is very photogenic. And other than that, I mean, I kind of have other cities in mind based on watching YouTube videos, but you know, anybody that's been there that, you know, is a particular town, the one thing, you know, is I'm not going to be in a hurry. I'm not going to rush. If I like a town, I stay 4 or 5 days, even a week, you know, and then move on to the next one. So these people that want to jam in a, you know, town to town that, you know, where they're only one day, you don't get a feel of the people in the town. And I kind of like to where I'm, by the 2nd or 3rd day, I kind of know my way around. And
You're not so much of a tourist, right?
and, you know,
Hit it.
what bars to get thrown out of, you know what I mean, things like.
Let's see.
I don't know about their beer. That's all I drink is beer. So I'm like, you know, I hope there's not like in Good Morning Vietnam with Robin Williams, the bar that he went to. He's like, "What's wrong with this beer?" And the guy said, "We put just a hint of formaldehyde."
Keep you preserved.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, formaldehyde. Well, I know, Chad, I'm not going to get my Blue Moon 7,000 miles away from home, so you just have to, when in Rome, drink whatever the, you know, whatever.
Do as the locals do.
But in Thailand, Singa beer and Leo, very nice. I mean, I was happy to drink that, you know.
Sylvan in the chat room has a question. Carey, regarding move speed, do they sell on AliExpress? I would just go to AliExpress.com and type in move speed. I think that's an easy question you can answer. I do believe they do, but the only way to know for sure. Is there any reason why you wouldn't go to AliExpress and search for move speed? Or have you, and you've come up empty-handed and you're wondering if you're not typing something incorrectly? See if we missed other questions here. Jeff H. said his minis forum UM790 Pro finally came in. Boy, is it he says, boy, is it fast for such a small computer. Yeah, and people don't really realize just how small they are until you have one in your hands. Adam says, I'm having issues with hard page faults on my Windows 11 fresh install. So basically that's almost always going to be bad RAM. I would recommend you download and create a flash drive with a product called memtest86. And if you search YouTube for CareyHolzman space memtest86, my video walks you through the whole process. You can only identify bad RAM, you cannot repair it. So if you have bad RAM, essentially you shut the computer down, you remove one of your RAM modules, and you run memtest again. You repeat this until memtest runs all 13 tests without errors. It's possible that one of the RAM modules you removed is the good one and the one you left in is the bad one. So if you still come up with errors, switch them around. Always turn the computer off, but almost always that's going to be RAM related problems that again aren't fixable.
Winston Lou again.
Winston Liu with a $5 Canadian contribution said you should stay in Ho Chi Minh City at least 5 days.
Well, Winston, you're spot on. I'm staying, in Ho Chi Minh 6 days. Obviously land there, and I'm splurging and staying at not a 5-star but a 4-star hotel, and right in District 1, and looking forward to it. And hopefully the hotel can recommend, somebody that I can hire to take me around, that speaks good English. And yeah, that'll be nice. So looking forward to it. Not looking forward to the 13 and a half hours Los Angeles to Tokyo. That's 13 and a half. Then I got a 3-hour wait, and then Tokyo into Ho Chi Minh City's another 7. So, I leave basically here Phoenix Monday, September 4th at 3:15 a.m. or 5:30 is when my flight, and I don't get in till Tuesday at 10 p.m. So I'm going to be, but I found a hotel that's right next to the airport, so I don't even have to take a taxi or a grab or anything. They claim I can walk out a door, make a right. It's a 3-minute walk to the hotel, so all I have to do is text them and go, look, by the time I get through customs, I may not be to the front desk till midnight, and I'm not checking out at 11 a.m. I'll just be exhausted, so can I pay for late checkout, because I'm probably not due to the nice hotel until 2 or 3 in the afternoon, so I'm willing to pay from 11 to say check out at 2. Just don't have the maids pounding at 11 o'clock. I'm like, I haven't slept.
That's a nice way to
I
start
haven't
your
slept in 28. I'll try on the plane, but I've never taken an Ambien, and I'm a little, everyone tells me that, and I'm like, I'd rather bring a melatonin and try versus a true drug.
Don't
like
sleep the
Ambien.
night before. You'll probably fall asleep on the plane without any
Yeah,
assistance.
well, I 3 days before I leave, I put myself on Vietnam time anyways, which will
Then
probably
have a drink.
means,
That'll
probably
knock you
means
out.
sleeping during the day and staying awake all night, because I like to get myself on their time so that I'm not, too jet lagged. So,
A hiker in the chat says, Carey, you were correct with the B-Link 7840HS. It was a lack of AMD driver. Do another review. Yeah, that's always been my intent, is when the driver came out, I had to revisit the B-Link and the Minis forum. What is that, the AMD 760s? Yeah, I need to re-review them.
Patrick Manny, Mitch, just wondering why Vietnam. Well, because I'm cheap.
Because you're cheap.
people are, why that part of the world? I'm like, because I can get good hotel rooms for $50 US. You know, other places it'd be a fortune. So I can get a bottle of beer for $1 and a good 3-course meal for maybe $10 American. So, you know, your dollar really hollers at the places I go. Thailand, the Philippines, Vietnam. I don't speak the language, but I've got Carey was nice enough to gift me a beautiful voice translator that's kind of just got 2 buttons. I hit one, it's speak English, it kicks out Vietnamese, and then they hit the other, they speak, and it kicks out English, and I can
Isn't modern technology
and I
cool?
can take that to a restaurant, and I can take a photo of their menu in their language, and it translates it into English. So
Oh,
that-
it tells you which one's the dog and which
yeah,
one's the cat.
yeah, so I don't have to point, and then they bring me out boiled sheep brains, and you know, a rare delicacy. So that's kind of nice, and between that and hiring a guide to take me during the day is how I roll, you know. So I'm not playing the tourist, holding a map or holding my phone, you know, while I walk and having Google, you know.
Oh, Starshine mentions an allergy pill.
Oh, that's true.
Benadryl
Yeah.
will knock your butt right
Yeah,
out.
I've taken that, yeah. Thank you. I've got some of that in my DOP kit, yeah, so.
All right, we're rebooting after the updates and going swimmingly. Everything's running exactly like it should. Brand new build, all new parts, unboxed. Tape was cut on camera, live, unrehearsed, unscripted. This is how it works. No dead on arrival products, no damaged products.
Yeah, and don't rush your build.
Yeah,
Enjoy,
enjoy
like
it.
Carey says, take your time. If you're getting frustrated, walk away for a bit. Don't, you know, I know that you want to get it set up
You're
and you
anxious
want
to use it.
but just again, you know, if you take your time, I don't think you're going to run into any problems, and you're going to be so proud of yourself that everything works that
I'm gonna
you're going to want to build again. So
I'm going to take off our USB.
Okay. Stick that in a drawer.
Yeah, I think
Right-
we should
right
have the
here.
driver for that now.
Okay.
Well, watch that little globe down on the bottom right. See if it
Okay.
turns into a little monitor.
There it did.
And this is supposed to be a 2.5 gig network port, and it is plugged into a 2.5 gig router. So if we click on our connection status here, go over to right-click on it, network and internet settings, over to Ethernet. Speed of connection is only gigabit. Oh, that's not right. Let me right-click and go to the device manager and see if we loaded all of our devices up or not. Yeah, it says it's all there.
No question marks.
And under network adapters, do we have a 2.5 gig adapter? Yes, it's a 2.5 gig Ethernet controller. Huh. And it should be on auto speed, so we can click and go to advanced. Speed and duplex should be set to auto. It is. So I'm not sure why I'm only connecting at a gig. That's interesting, but not my major concern at this point. I'm going to go back to Windows Update, and we'll check for some more updates to Windows. And then I want to copy over my Crystal DiskMark software. And I want to see if this Gen 5 drive, first of all, if we plugged it into the Gen 5 port, which I think we have, if we actually get 12,000 plus megabytes per second. We may not get exactly 12,400. It might get, it's possible it could be like 11,900. It kind of depends on the system. But we just want to make sure I get all the updates first. That'll be next. Ah, good. So we just have an anti-malware update for the antivirus from Microsoft. Those are small.
Yeah, that'll go fast.
Yeah. So my utilities flash drive is what I need next. So while that's loading, I'll step around and we will plug in the utilities flash drive right about there.
We're up to date. Good.
Perfect. We can close this, so we're done with that. We'll go to the yellow folder down here, over to the USB drive. And you know, I want VLC. I put that on all my builds. I also want Uncle Carey's Windows 10 Optimizer. That's $7, available at D7X Tech. Links are in the video description below the video. And finally, I want Crystal Disk Mark.
You think it'll come close to those numbers? I wouldn't expect, you know, exact.
We're about to find out, Mitch.
Okay.
I don't like to think if I don't have to.
Don't hurt yourself.
No.
Yeah.
Smell something burning,
Yeah,
gets me
yeah,
thinking.
yeah.
All right, let me get rid of my flash drive. Let's go to Crystal Disk Mark. All right, place your bets in the chat room. How fast do you think we're gonna see?
Over 10,000.
Well, unless we plugged it in at Gen 4,
Oh,
then we won't see more
yeah.
than 7,500 probably.
Okay.
So we'll run the 64-bit edition of Crystal Disk Mark. This is a portable, freeware piece of software. And we stick with all the default and
Here we go.
hit all, and let's see what our numbers say.
Place your bets, place your bets.
If you look up at the top of the screen, it shows test 1 of 5 right up here on the read side. 12,377 is pretty close
Yeah.
to 12,400.
Phew.
I had a RAID array of 3 different Samsung 970 EVOs working together, 3 of them, to hit 12,000 a few years ago. Now this is one drive. Can you imagine if you can get 2 of those in a RAID 0? You could double that.
Was that old thready or new thread? Or
That was the original Threadripper.
the original thread?
Those were 960, Samsung 960. They were
960,
512 gigs apiece.
That's right.
So it gave me 1.5 terabytes on a RAID 5.
Okay.
No, it was a RAID 0 array.
Yeah. Did I build that with you? I think so, yeah.
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 We built it outside, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then they don't advertise the write speed, so I don't know what the write speed on this is supposed to be. Well, that'll make you run crying home to your mama, won't it?
Yeah. Phew.
So it's about an $800 computer build, which is what I was talking about before I distracted myself. The only part of it that's sort of not the best budget is this NVMe drive. This NVMe drive all by itself was like $400, $350, something like that. If we would have stuck like a Fanjing or a Move Speed 2 terabyte Gen 4 drive, we could get speeds of around 7,200 or so, and it would cost us a third as much for the same amount of 2 terabytes of storage. We could buy 2
Yeah.
and still have $100 left over. But I wanted to test the performance of these Gen 5 SSDs, the fast ones. The prior one that I used only hit 10,000. Now 12,393. And the next generation of these Gen 5, well, the next iteration of these Gen 5 drives, specifically there's a model NVMe drive Gen 5 from the TEAMGROUP company that's supposed to saturate the bus and get us to 15,000 or 14,500. You won't be able to go any faster than that. You'd have to go to Gen 6 at that point. That's ridiculously stupid fast. And it does generate a lot of heat, and that's why that heatsink is as big as it is. Sid Stevens said, "What is this specific build for?" This build is for educational purposes. Hey, look at our write speeds. Darn near at 12,000. They almost match the read speeds.
Jeez.
That's crazy. Patrick Manny says, "Geez Louise, that's fast." Richard Palmatier said he's having trouble finding a motherboard that's 4 years old. Yeah, well, that's how technology is, Richard. I mean, if you try and buy the technology after they stop making it, you're probably going to find it's going to be pretty hard. It's at least 3 years old anyway. So after that board came out, the 600 series boards came out. We're on 700 series boards. So if you're trying to find a 600 series or a 700 series board, you're in luck. But if you're trying to find anything older than that, you've waited too long for that family, unfortunately. You can always go to, eBay or places like that to pick up a used one, or, if you have a questionable seller, they're likely going to have older, maybe used inventory. It might be fine. Doman 2000 has timed out William R. Doman 2000 is about to lose his moderator status. That's an abuse of your blue powers, Doman 2000. I'm going to warn you once. I'm going to apologize to William R. You should not have been timed out. I'm going to hope that was an error in judgment or a mistaken click of the mouse. But either way, if you're prone to errors in judgment or prone to errorly clicking the mouse in error, then blue status isn't for you. So that's your one warning, Doman 2000.
There's our speeds, all done.
And unfortunately for William R., I cannot undo that. He has to wait 300 seconds, and then he'll be able to talk again. And if it happens again, I will apologize again to William R., and I'll make sure it won't happen a third time. Do not abuse your powers. If I turn you blue, I trust you. Don't betray my trust. All right, so there's our final numbers. It's pretty impressive. I think at this point, we can shut her down, disconnect the wires, break the case out, get it mounted in the case, power supply in the case, hook it back up, turn it back on. I think it's maybe 20 more minutes of work, which means we should be here about 90 more minutes. Is that how it works? Let's shut this down. You want to see the boot time? Let's try we'll wait till this is completely off. So we'll wait till the fan stops. Hit that blue button.
1,
Yep,
2,
press it.
3.
There we go. And now you can look at the clock below the video to determine how long it takes us to get to the desktop. I think you'll find it's not markedly faster with at 12,000 megabytes per second than it is at 3,600 megabytes. You can reach a point of diminishing returns where the results are milliseconds.
Jeez, that was fast.
It was pretty quick though, wasn't it? Yeah, that was pretty quick.
So we'll shut her down and
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and shut it back down, and then we'll go full screen back on camera 1 again. And it's quiet.
Yeah.
All right, and then let's see, back over here to camera 1 full screen. There we go.
so we can gently unplug like
Not
this.
yet.
Not that.
We want to first remove power from the board before we work
Oh.
on it. So I'm going to pull the power plug, and now,
You
yes,
wait.
we want to. This can go back in the drawer. We're done with our.
Was that in this one? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was in this one.
Put our cables back. Our dongle for the keyboard and mouse, because our I/O panel is built onto the back of this board, we can leave that in.
Okay.
But if our I/O panel was separated, we'd have to remove that
Yeah.
in order to get it to mount correctly. And then we have to remove either the cables from the motherboard or the cables from the power supply.
I prefer the power supply versus always.
Well,
I'm
these
just worried
two
about-
cables can be difficult to reach once we've mounted this in the case.
Oh,
So but this one's easy. So this one I know I can remove. So I squeeze the clip, and then as I'm pulling on it, you'll see I'm rocking it.
yeah.
Because it's in there really tight, and I have to use my right hand, my dominant hand, because it's just a stronger hand. And then as far as the power supply goes, I will disconnect the 2 CPU power connectors. See what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. And then that should make it easier to install. And then I've got our case already taken out of the box. It's brand new. I opened it and removed the packing materials. But here's what our case looks like so. There's the front of it. On the top, can you tilt that
Sure.
forward for me? On the top, you'll see we've got a USB Type A and a USB Type C. We've got a single 3.5 millimeter audio jack for headphone, microphone, or headset. Power button, there is no apparent, I don't see a hard drive LED. I think there's a power LED that highlights there. There's a magnetic screen on top. This is if we put a radiator or fans that are going to pull air in. If we're going to put fans that blow air out, take the screen off. We talked about that earlier. Go ahead and set the computer or the case chassis straight on. You'll see there's room for a radiator up here. There's room for fans, but it doesn't come with any, except come around the back, all the way around here, we've got a case fan right here. I mentioned you can count the number of slots that can tell you if this is a full-size case. You should have 7 if it's a full-size case. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If it had 4, it's going to be micro ATX. To open this computer to work on it, we're going to turn this thumb screw right here, and this thumb screw right up here, and this thumb screw down here. And these are captive screws. And so what we're going to do is, on this side of things first, whoops, that panel just comes off by itself. I can pull this. There's a latch right here. Pull it towards me, and it just snaps out. And then our glass panel comes off, and I'll set it down here. And then the other side just fell off on its own, which is good. As you see, there's nothing that holds this panel in except right up here at the front. We have these clips. So when we remove the screws back here, once this separates from the front of the case, it's loose and can fall out. Very easy to work on. Now I will say, I don't really care for this little piece here. But overall, I think it's a very well-made case. And it's a very, and I just saw something I've never seen before, Mitch. Check this out. There's a fan right there.
Oh.
See that?
Yeah.
It's like sitting on an angle. And it's sucking air in from the bottom.
Okay.
See, there's a screen there, and then the other screen is for the power supply, where we're going to put the power supply. So there's 2 screens that you'll need to grab a little edge and pull out and clean these at least once a year.
We got our box of doodads on that side.
Now on the other side here, this box, this is going to contain all the screws and mounting hardware that we need. Whenever you're working with a computer chassis, the chassis has its own unique screws, thread length, thread depth. They're not typically interchangeable, so you want to keep the screws, because if you're doing any upgrades or repairs in the future, you might need these screws. So make sure you put everything away when you're done with it. In the back, where this wire tie is running, we have this little space back here. You see there's a thumb screw. And we can take this thumb screw off, and we can, this is a mount for 2.5-inch drives. You can put 2.5-inch drives in there, and then it just slots in. And again, it's a captive screw, thumb screw. Tighten that up. Now, this is a bit different of an NZXT case. You're gonna see these little metal pieces that are stuck out here. That's to route your cables around and through. So with these little Velcros, we can run our cables right down through there, and any cables down through here and under here. And it's nice, clean cable management. It's not as nice as the H7. The H7's a little bit taller, and it's a little bit nicer, but it's also a little bit more expensive. So it's still a matter of getting what you pay for, but I'm still very happy with it. I like the H7 a little better. I thought this was going to be the same, so I'm a little surprised. I did no research. I just assumed. And you know how well assuming is.
Johnny says he's got a 450D case. Johnny, that's exactly, I think, the birthday build that Carey did for me, maybe 3 years ago, with the 2 fans in the front. Yeah, Corsair. Still got it, still like it.
Can you do me, would you do me a favor? The screws for the power supply in the little bag, and the yellow handled screwdriver.
I prefer to use the screws that come with the power supply as long as they match the color of the case. If not, then I'll use the screws that come with the case. But for mounting the motherboard, we have to use the screws that come with the case. And if we were going to mount any fans, we'd want to use the screws that come with the case.
Now, do you normally mount the power supply first and then the board second versus would it be okay to mount the board?
Yeah, it doesn't
in there?
matter.
It doesn't matter, just your preference, right?
Just, I was in the mood to put the power supply in.
Just asking. Never mind.
Sometimes it's based on the case design
Yeah.
too. It might be more inviting to put the power supply in first on some case designs, but really 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yep.
In the box, NZXT includes with the chassis some nylon zip ties and nothing else in there. We've got bags of screws, and these screws are all labeled. I like that they've labeled what each bag of screws contains. M3 screws at 5mm. KB5 10mm. Those are fan screws. Come on, getting a lot of reflection. What's it say, standoffs? Oh yeah, there's a socket and an extra standoff for motherboards that have more mounting holes than standard. There's our 4 power supply screws right down there, which will be extra for us. And so to put the motherboard in, which is what we can do next, I'm gonna lay this case. I can see a problem with laying this case flat with that piece right there.
Yeah.
Let's see what it does. In theory, the edges of the case stick out further, but just. And then I'm going to just what I call dry fit the motherboard, which is I'm going to take the motherboard and set it in and see if we have standoffs for all the holes. I can see like this motherboard has 2 holes right here. Usually you get one or the other. That's unusual. So we're going to have 4 screws needing to go in just on this side of the board alone. And then towards the middle of the board, we've got 1 at the bottom, 1 in the middle, 1 at the top. And on the far right side of the board, 1 in the top, 1 in the middle, 1 in the bottom. So I can tell you already looking in here that we're going to need that standoff. Do me a favor, will you give me that little scissors that are in there? Would you give me my glasses?
Glass.
Would you give me my little socketing standoff?
Standoff
wrench?
socket.
It's kind of neat that these are all stitched together like this. That means that when they're filling the boxes, the likelihood of the person filling the boxes leaving one of the bags out is not possible. All right, so this is the bag I want. This bag has 2 standoffs and a standoff socket, but I don't use the standoff socket. That's if you wanted to use a Phillips screwdriver. I have a tool. Take one of these standoffs, I'm going to place it right here. And I think every other standoff is in the right place now. Righties tighties. When you tighten your standoffs down, don't over tighten them. You will strip out the thread on the back of the motherboard tray, and it's not replaceable. Thank you, Mitchell. All right, and then the only other question is, on the middle, are we all in the same row? I think it's going to align. I'm going to just put the motherboard in, sort of on an angle with the I/O ports going in first, and then bring it in and align it to the hole. And then the center standoff is a post, so the motherboard can be centered on that post. No screw goes in that on that standoff. So the remaining standoffs are 4, 7, 9. We'll need 9 screws. So in one of these bags, this bag only contains 4 screws. That bag has our standoff in it. We want to keep that. This bag is for fan screws. We're not going to use that today. This bag contains 6 32 by 5mm. I think those are motherboard screws. And this bag contains M3 screws by 5mm. These are typically used for installing your 2.5-inch drives, but it's possible they could be using these for the motherboard. And I think it's going to be this one. I could be wrong.
You want to use the big electric screwdriver?
Yeah, will you give me big red? Now, these screws have a pretty coarse thread on them, and if the standoffs are a fine thread, it won't even start. It'll kind of jut in at an angle and stop. I'd say those are the right screws, and we're going to need 9 of them. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then just the 3 across the top.
A little dark in there.
7,
I work with a headlamp myself. Not a miner's hat, a headlamp.
8, 1 left. 9. Now, I did something I usually won't do, and that is I tightened all those down. I recommend you get them all started so you can still shift the motherboard around. It's just that NZXT's so good in their design, I was pretty confident I wasn't going to have to shift anything around. But I will have to route these cables out the back right now, and that's, at least I don't have to plug them in. We've left them plugged in, so all I have to do is route them. And let me get this little bag of screws over here, out of the way. And so I will take one of these cables and push it through the back here, bring it around, like so. And, oh, this isn't too bad, is it? You just push that through. And those are going to plug in right down here in the power supply where we had unplugged them. Again, it doesn't matter which cable goes into which socket back here. If it fits, it's in the right place. There's one. Remember I mentioned these little parts here? We also have a rear case fan cable that's going to need to plug into a fan header on our motherboard. And this is another thing I like about NZXT. I can route this cable right in here like this, and we can take the other one and route it in there. Actually, that one should go in first, and then this one. And then this little nylon strap can go back through. You can do it like that. That's one way. The other way you can do it is you can route the cables behind the nylon strap and then just attach the nylon strap to itself with the cables being trapped underneath it. That's probably the way they really want you to do it. It's going to accomplish the same thing. It's just whatever makes the most sense to you is all that matters. Our big power connector, we can bring that up right up through here. And once again, they've given us this wonderful way to run our cable.
You got plenty of slack in there?
Yeah, I'm just routing our cable management here. We can even go so far as even all the way up here. Optional. See how NZXT makes that so easy?
Now, it looks like there's room for either two 120s up front, if you wanted fans, or two 140s. It looks like even big enough
Yeah.
for two 140s.
That's so it'll fit a 280 or a 260 millimeter radiator if you want to go with liquid cooling. So I'm going to just put this big connector back on the board where we just had it. And this is very difficult for me to see. All the light is behind the cameras. So I'm looking into the light, which makes the area even darker. So let me turn that around. Zoinks. Do me a favor, will you take the plastic bag and everything off those front port
Yeah.
umbilicals? And those will be the last cables we have to hook up. That's going to be our front USB, our front audio, and our power and reset switch and LEDs. This just does not want to, it's just tight. Probably should have cable managed it after I did this part. I think, yeah, that's on now. Okay. All right, so Mitch has graciously removed.
I'm laughing at that bottom fan. That's the craziest.
It's wonky, isn't it?
That's the craziest thing I've ever seen on a case.
So this connector here, this is our front panel connector. I was telling you about how it's all on one connector. And so that, and I always remove any wire ties. You don't want to leave wire ties in your system. These will get brittle and break over time, and then you've got a piece of metal floating around inside your computer. And if it gets behind your motherboard and connects two contacts together, well, it's not going to be good times for you, my friend. I'm going to bring up this connector here. And it's got a pin missing, and it's going to go on this connector, so it can only go on one way. That missing pin is on the top row. And I'm doing this without glasses on. That's how easy NZXT has made that.
Nice.
That's your power switch, reset switch, power LED, hard drive LED, all in one connector.
Okay.
Why isn't anybody else doing that in case manufacturing? This big connector here, this big one, this is USB USB 3 type A. This uses two connectors, but they only give us one. That sucks. Bad on NZXT. They were doing so well. And that's going to plug in. We're just going to bring it in. It's going to plug in right here on the motherboard. It's got a little notch on it, so it can only go in one way. And it'll just click in right like so. We can just tuck that extra cable back whence the way it came. Look how clean the cable management's looking. Back over here again, we've got kind of a funky looking connector with a cap on it. If your motherboard has USB Type-C, this is the connector. Your case has to have this Type-C, and your motherboard has to have Type-C if you're going to use this. We look on this motherboard, right below our big motherboard power connector is this rectangular socket. This usually only goes in one way, so if you try to seat it and it won't go in, rotate it and try it again. I think it's gonna go opposite way, Carey. Yeah, now that's plugged in, and we can take our excess cable and push it out the back. Finally, we have this cable here. This is our HD audio. That connector is always going to be somewhere in that part of the motherboard. So we route this cable as much as possible behind the board. And I would take it, personally, I would take it under these cables and then up through there, right up through there. And then that'll get us close to that corner.
You probably need your glasses for that.
Yes, please. Oh, I just lost it. Will you feed that back through for me?
Is it back?
Right in here.
Oh.
Thank you. And with my glasses on so as I can see.
Very dark in there, even with the lights.
There's a missing pin on the top row, kind of an offset one. That ensures this connector can only go on one way. It's just a friction fit. Kind of wiggle and push until it bottoms out against the bottom of the board. And then the last thing is our rear case fan. And we can hook that up to literally any fan header on the motherboard that the cable will reach. So I'm just kind of looking where we have fan headers. We have a fan header here, 2 more up there. Sometimes you have a couple on the bottom. Yes, we do have some fan headers right down here. I would prefer to run that cable all the way down and bring it up through the bottom if we have a long enough cable. Oh, and then we also have one for the front fan too. So let's do the front fan first. I forgot that little wonky. We're just gonna bring that right. How do I want to route it? I'll route it right there. Did you grab that for me?
Yeah.
Just pull it all the way through. And then let's see this other rear case fan. We'll see if that cable's gonna reach. I think we're gonna be okay on this.
Would this wonky fan blow on a graphics card if you had one in there? Because it's on the angle like that, or?
Kind of, yeah.
Would it-
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
And now I'm gonna take these 2 fans and I'm gonna plug this one over on this side. And this one, oh, you know what? Take it back. Do me a favor, take this back
This one? Nope.
and give it to me again over on this side instead. Just because I think it looks cleaner. And I'll use the fan header closest to with that fan's location so we don't have to crisscross our cables. That is our entire build. And we can take this fan cable and we can route it with the motherboard power cable. And using NZXT's Velcro ties and their cable management system, we don't have to use any zip ties. We don't have to get creative with how we bundle our cables. Now they do have some little cable tie bridges here, so we could grab a nylon zip tie and put one here if we want to clean that up. And then we've got a couple more bridges that we can zip tie there. And look at how clean that's going to look.
You want to use these ones or the?
No, I'm not going to use any right now.
Okay.
I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah.
And if I tighten this down, it should keep that from moving. No one's going to see this side
Right.
anyway, but it's nice and clean. And then, you know, all those cables we're not using, there's less cables for us to manage. Now, we can make sure it still works. So there's our internet, our HDMI, our power cable. Make sure the power supply is in the off position. The keyboard and mouse dongle we've left plugged in. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the power supply to the on position. And then we'll rotate this way so people can see. I'm going to turn it on. Power light comes on. We've got some RGB at the bottom of the board right down here. This bottom fan down here is turning, and our rear case fan back here is turning. Everything is still really quiet. And if I step around and activate, whoa, what happened? Everything went full screen on me here. Let's go to HDMI input. Of course, we're already at the desktop. That's our build. ladies and gentlemen, that's it. It's done. Let's do a restart just to watch it boot up. Do you hear it?
Nope.
We've got a CPU fan turning, power supply fan turning, front and rear case fans turning, and it's not making a peep. And here's a boot up. All done.
Fast.
And it's 4:30, so this took us 3.5 hours to casually enjoy our build and made no mistakes that required, you know, any sort of repair. Everything went perfect.
It's it's a one heck of a machine.
It's very, very fast,
you know.
very capable. Plenty of RAM, super fast storage, lots of empty M.2 slots to expand to grow with. A fully capable, GPU capable power supply if we want to turn this into a gaming rig. Whatever GPU you want to put in it, it's fine. You want to put a $2,500 GPU in there. You want to put a $300 GPU. You want to put a $100 GPU. Whatever you want to put in there, it's going to take it. Larry wants to know, Carey, what's the best audio card for old hi-fi would you suggest to use? I would use a USB digital audio, a DAC, USB DAC, digital audio converter, digital analog converter. That's what I would use.
Can we put this and those screws in the box?
Yeah, except those screws, they're loose. I need to put them in something
Oh, gotcha.
or they'll fly out of their bags.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you know what I could do? I could probably just staple the bags closed. Where's my stapler? Stapler!
Your red stapler?
I wish I had a red swing line.
What movie's that from, Chad? All right, so, where's my red stapler?
What did I do with my stapler? It's right in front of me, Carey. All right, so these bags are sealed, so we're good there. This bag still has a standoff and the standoff socket in it. So I'm going to fold it in half. Those won't come out now. This bag is sealed. That can go in there. This bag, I more smartly cut the corner, so that way I knew I could close it easily. So what Mitch is holding here, which you can't really see, is the box filled with all of our documentation, spare screws and spare parts. And we'll also put our power cables for the power supply in here, and we'll keep it all together. But for right now, we'll just keep it on top of this box because it may not fit in there. Now let's see. I think that's the best configuration that you can get today for the money. You can build something cheaper that's less powerful, or you can build something more expensive that's more powerful. So right down the middle, best bang for the buck. Right now, August 18th, 2023, that configuration is what I recommend. You don't have to use that motherboard, but I like all the I/O on it. I like the paint job on it. It's really the I/O I'm sold on. I like that it has a Gen 5 M.2. A lot of other motherboards may offer Gen 5 PCIe, but not Gen 5 M.2. That may not matter to you unless you're gonna, spend a ton of money on the storage. That price will come down later. Gen 5 is expensive now because it's the latest. You could obviously save quite a bit of money by just putting a Gen 4. The move speed drive that we reviewed the other day, the Fangjing drive, 2 terabytes are like $90, and they're super fast, over 7,000 megabytes per second. But this is over 12,000, so it costs 3 times more.
So what will it take to put you into this beautiful desktop today?
All major credit cards are accepted.
Yeah. The car salesman, you just punch him right in the nose. Don't stop saying that.
What's it gonna take
Yeah.
for you to be colorblind?
Yeah.
It's not the color you want. What if I took $1,000 off? Would it be the color you want now?
Henry Ford, you can have any color as long as it's black.
That's right. He also said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. I guess this is trash. Any final questions? We'll take a moment to wrap things up with our live audience. Sorry, I had to get some dirt off my fingers. Questions, concerns? If you want to know what that's going to look like with the side panel on.
Hey, there's Michael. Michael Dane. Yeah.
The man.
The man. The man. Michael, good to see you. Don't break it.
If I break it, I bought it.
No.
There you go, folks. Finished product.
Look at those exquisite lines.
Exquisite.
And it can be yours for just one easy payment.
Of your arm or your leg.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions? Let's see. Michael Dane says, welcome to The Price is Right with host CareyHolzman and the model Mitch Morrison. Oh, any clue about what was going on with the network speed? That's a good question. I was going to follow that up. I'm glad you reminded me. Let me go back over and just see if we're still connecting at that gigabit, or let me go full screen so we can see it. Network and internet. Oh, Ethernet. Yeah, it's connecting at 2500 now. So that's 2.5 gig LAN. Yeah.
Michael Dane, Mitch, how was your summer? Well, Michael, I'm just back after 3 glorious weeks in Vail, Colorado, where it was cool nights to sit out on the back porch and with my brother and my middle brother, and yeah, it's a great time. I hated to come back to this weather.
Andy Kane says, what was the name of that power connector? I think he's referring to the front panel connector. That comes with some Gigabyte motherboards. It's nothing you can buy individually. But Gigabyte calls it the G connector. ASUS has one they call the Q connector. You maybe find it on eBay if somebody's selling them. They might have taken it out of their box. But it's not something the manufacturers sell. It's something that's included with some models of motherboard Gigabyte makes as a G connector, and some models of motherboard ASUS makes as a Q connector. Natty, like King Kong, says, are businesses upgrading to Windows 11? No, they are not. Generally speaking, most businesses are still remaining on Windows 10 for now.
You got 2 years.
Do I support Windows 11? Of course. Andy Kane said, I have a B650 motherboard from Gigabyte. Well, not all Gigabyte boards come with it, but if it did, it would have been in the box with your motherboard. See any other questions in there, Uncle Mitch?
I'm still thinking about you'll be the envy of your neighbors.
Oh, you're
when,
still-
when you drive this
Ron Popeil's over there.
the chop sock. Yeah, all right.
What do you call shoes made out of bananas, Mitch? That's what Jason wants to know.
Ah, slippers.
Slippers. I have slippers made out of bread, but I call them loafers. Elijah Dickens says, nice build, Carey, quick and easy. Yeah, super easy. When you get the right parts, they go together like a glove, It's super, super pleasurable to work on computers that are made with quality components, with a well thought out, well engineered case. is both attractive and sturdy, affordable and available and expandable. So NZXT's done a great job. This is sort of a budget line for NZXT.
God, do you remember when we used to build those minis that just had no room and just struggled, and you're like, I really don't care for these tiny machines. How big
It's
were the
definitely not
boards?
getting any easier
Yeah.
the older we get, I'll tell you that. I'm seeing that my cables need a little more slack here.
Natty like King Kong. Mitch, when are you upgrading your main rig? Well, that's interesting because Uncle Carey asked me that the other day as to, what have I got in? And I think I've got an i7 something, 16 gig of RAM. Got a graphics card in it. I've got a Samsung NVMe Pro, I think 2 terabyte, and then I've got 2 mechanical hard drives in it. So to me, I mean, it's working fine. I use it to video edit my auditions because, we don't go in live anymore. It's all, your agent sends you the audition and you shoot it yourself and edit it yourself. And so it's, I never really editing something more than like a 2-minute clip anyway. So it's working great. Really, the only thing I have not done is BIOS, but I'm from the old school. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'm like,
Just leave it, yeah.
Just leave it, and I'm like, so.
Unless you were having issues with RAM compatibility or you were upgrading the CPU and you needed
Yep.
some update to the BIOS, there's no sense in messing around with something that doesn't need to be messed with.
And then probably sometime this year, I downloaded MemTest, just, not that I thought I had any problem with the RAM, but I just ran it overnight just to make sure, and again,
Flying colors.
It all passed. I'm like, well, then, I don't need to worry about that. I guess 16 gigs is working fine for me.
Michael Dane says, why are spiders so good at the internet? It's because they know all the good websites. Ba-dum-bum. Victor says, that's a great build. Can you make it smaller like a minis forum? Sure. It's called buying a minis forum.
Yeah.
What is it, 4:49, about 10 minutes to 5 here. So I guess it's time to say thank you to everybody once again. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thanks for all my friends in blue. Thank you to our good friend Buster, Peter Laycock, with a very generous contribution. Frankie B, another generous contribution. Thank you as well to, gotta check my phone. Winston Liu for the PayPal contribution. Nick Caffrey for the PayPal contribution. Paul O'Brien for your Amazon gift card. And in Super Chat, shout out and deepest thanks to, oh man, I didn't have it selected. I hope it's still got everybody in there. Paul O'Brien, Peter Laycock, Ian Gooch, Mark Gaines, Roy Star Man, Alan Lindas. Thank you to our friends Zdravko Franchevich, who's renewed his membership now for 15. He's now on month 15 of membership. So is Bradley Morris. And Sylvan Basudel has become a member today. Thank you for joining our tech club, Sylvan. Thank you to Peter Laycock for his additional Super Chat contribution. Michael Harico, Louis Grego, Richard Palmentier, Alvin Shaver, Mike Visions, Larry Wood, Barry Russ, Dustin Fuller has also renewed his membership for month number 15. That's awesome. And Winston Liu says bonjour from Vancouver, Canada. And then contributed 2 more times. So Winston Liu, thank you for your generous contributions as well. And for everybody who hung out in the chat room and participated in today's live video, thank you for participating and not just being a lame spectator. It's so much better when you interact with us. We enjoy it more, and you enjoy it more. And if you're watching the video after it airs live, I hope you'll consider joining us in a future live video. The chat room is open to everyone as long as you're nice.
What I will do, chat, is like I did last year from Singapore. I will take little video introductions or whatever, or where I'm from, and I'll send them to Carey, and then it's his choice whether he.
Oh, I always show those, yeah.
Whether he wants to, whether it be Saigon or.
So you're going to give us updates?
Hanoi or yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, that'll be the last time we see you till you get back.
Yeah.
Have a safe trip.
Yeah.
Thanks for your help today.
Oh, it's I like builds, and I
I'm not doing them as much on the channel now, but
when they go smooth like that, it's a pleasure to work on them.
maybe the next one we'll do will be a 14th gen Intel
Okay.
when you get back.
Yeah.
And thanks to Camera Girl, who's not here today, but she did our thumbnail and all the keywords and tags for the video, so a shout out to her as
Yeah.
well.
You all have a wonderful and safe weekend, and I will see you when I get back in a couple of months, I guess. And yeah, I'll send little video snippets of what I'm got going on, where it's 90 out and 90% humidity. Blah.
Yeah, I'm not going to feel sorry for you.
No. I ought to lose about 10 pounds, which I can more than afford. Okay.
All right, well, that'll wrap it up for today. Again, all the parts you've seen in today's build were paid for using money coming from YouTube, right? Coming from viewer contributions and coming from the pennies the videos generate, which is nothing compared to the viewer contributions. It's your contributions that make these videos possible, and I appreciate and deeply, deeply sincerest thanks to the people who are supporting this channel in that way so we can continue to make videos like this more often. That'll wrap it up for us for today. On behalf of Mitch Morrison and myself, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a safe, happy weekend. We'll see you all again very, very soon. And until next time,
Bye for now.
what he said. All right, let's go out with a bang here. Oh, you know what? I'll use an intro I haven't used in a while. If I can find it. Hey, it's gone. All right, we'll use this intro. Bye for now.
Sin Chow.